Good evening. This is a conference meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held in the council chambers of City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Monday, November 17, 2014, beginning at 7:06 p.m. I am going to do a roll call now. Councilman Coley,
Present.
Councilman Corbett,
Here.
Councilwoman Eason will be late, and she's not here as of yet. Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
Present.
Councilman Johnson.
Here.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Present.
And I am present as well, Councilwoman Williams. Also, our Deputy Clerk, Madeline Smith, is absent. Sitting in for Madeline Smith is Margaret Omer. Also, Marty Mays, on behalf of the administration, City Attorney Dan Smith, Director of Finance Adrian Mapp, Chief Financial Officer Joy Lascari, and we also have our Fire Director, Chief Dow is here, and on behalf of the Police Department, Councilman
Sergeant Jacob.
Sergeant Jacob on behalf of the Police Department, and I believe I've called, and also Ken Garrett from the county is with us as well. If I've missed any director, I do apologize. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please be apprised, anyone wishing to discuss agenda or general items shall sign one book. There will be 2 columns in the book, one for agenda items and one for general issues. Each person signing the book will check agenda or general issues. If they check only agenda items or general issues, they will be allowed to speak for 5 minutes. If they check general issues and agenda items, they will be allowed to speak for 10 minutes. NJSA 10:4-9 of the Sunshine Law has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and published in the record transcript on July 17, 2014. Posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Our first item on the agenda are matters for discussion, and tonight we have a guest, our surrogate, Theodore N. Stevens, and he's here to give us an update on his office and what they have been doing in calendar year 2014, his annual update. Now, you just judged Stevens, I'm sorry, so hard, so
that's
it's
fine.
hard.
That's
So
fine. Judge
that's
Stevens
why I
is always
stuttered.
good. Thank you, Council President. I appreciate it. Members of Council, good evening.
Good evening.
And members of the public as well. Thank you for allowing me to come back home to Orange. And this is certainly one of my homes. I was raised in nearby East Orange, but certainly call Orange home since I sat on the bench here for a number of years and also served as the Legislative Research Office for this body some years before that. So I'm no stranger to these chambers. And it's also always great to see the citizens of Orange. Orange has a great group of citizens always coming to here in your house to hear the council do the people's business. As I said, I was a judge here in Orange, and then I had the opportunity to run for surrogate. And surrogate is an office, it's a judgeship, and I'm the judge of the surrogate court. Most people, though, don't know what we do, and that's somewhat typified by an article that was in the Star Ledger about 2 weeks ago that basically outlined the functions of some very prominent, very important, but perhaps not as well known county offices, the freeholders, the county clerk, and the surrogates court. In fact, when I ran for office, I had 2 questions after I would give my long presentation about all of my various experience and reason why I should be surrogate. The first question was, what's your name again? And the second question was, what's the surrogate? So it became incumbent upon me to come out to explain to the folks, certainly the public, as to what the surrogates court does. First and foremost, the surrogates court handles the probate of wills, trusts, and estates for the county of Essex. There's a surrogate in every county. But also we handle the very important functions of monitoring funds for minors, as well as also the increasingly important functions of guardianships. And guardianships, of course, is a situation where someone is deemed to be in need of assistance, and then they make that application. And in doing that, I see so many instances that come in front of the surrogate's court where individuals come in, especially for guardianships, where they could have averted that very, very difficult situation if they had done some estate planning and had either a power of attorney or something like that, that they basically could have avoided having to come from a guardianship. Certainly, the city council, city attorney knows very well the need for a power of attorney is a very simple document, and it's one where an individual can get a power of attorney. It's a $500 document, and avoid the need to have a very expensive guardianship, which can be several $1,000s. And it's a court case. You have a complaint, you need witnesses, and it's a very arduous process because most individuals just want to take care of their loved one, and they really don't want to have to go through the difficulties, but they're left with that. So estate planning is not just for wealthy people, and I know there are a couple on this council. We won't identify you. We know who you are. But it's for everyone who has the need to want to protect their assets, their hard-earned assets, make sure it goes to individuals who they wanted to go to, as opposed to who the state says will get it if you don't have something like a will. So you need the three documents. You need a will, you need the power of attorney, and the living will, of course. Those are the three documents that we recommend. Now, we don't do those in the surrogate's court, but it's incumbent upon me to explain these things to the public because so often individuals, as I said, can avoid some very difficult situations by just doing a little planning. So my court and my staff is available as a resource to help explain these things to anybody who calls us, certainly. And we're also, of course, our regular duties, which I explained earlier. To help with our regular duties, we decided we kind of wanted to make the office a little bit more robust. The office is extremely well functioning. I inherited a tremendous staff. But we wanted to do a couple of different things. And Council President is well aware of what we've done over the years. The first thing we did is we embarked on an extended hours program. We're on the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. We're open an additional 2 hours to 6:30, so individuals can be seen with an appointment. They don't have to take time off of work in order to come in before 4:30. And they are seen and have their work done without having to take time off of work. They also get the added benefit, I think is the most important thing why we're so successful. It's probably the only time you can come to the city of Newark and get free parking because the employee lot is open after 4 o'clock. So that's been a big benefit. The other thing we did is we made our website much more robust. It's www.essexsurrogate.com, www.essexsurrogate.com. And the real benefit there, I think, is it gives important information about the surrogate's court, and it also has every document that you would need that can be downloaded on the website. In fact, it can be filled in as a PDF as well and printed out. And even though you will have to mail it in or bring it into court, it also is a time saver. And the attorneys have found that particularly helpful in terms of having the up-to-date forms there as well. And so what are we doing for you now? And I promised Madam President some time ago that we were going to open a satellite office, and I'm happy to announce that at the beginning of the year, we're going to have a satellite office for individuals in the western part of the county, or just maybe a little closer to where we're going to open it in West Orange at the Cody Arena. If it's more easy for them to go there as opposed to coming to Newark, that will be an option. It will be open during the work hours. And as I said, we're just putting the final touches on that, but that will be after the first of the year. So we're trying to do more with less, like everyone else in the county. But the important part, I think, is the more accessible we make ourselves, then perhaps it will be easier to get our information about what we do out to the public and to have the public utilize us. And that's our main goal going forward. So it's been 3 years, believe it or not, since I've been here. 3 years since I left the bench in Orange. You know, I'm the guy who's got to run for an office where you got to quit one job to run for the other one. You know, So that was the situation. Once I declared, I had to leave the bench. But as Dr. King did say, you know, faith is taking that first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. And so I'm happy to report that it's been extremely beneficial for me and rewarding to be the surrogate for Essex County. And so I'm happy to come in front of council I'm available for any questions from council or the public if the council allows for it.
Judge Stevens, one of the other things that we talked about before the Q&A starts is not directly in your office, but indirectly, with the conversation that you were having with various funeral homes based on this unprepared, or people passing on and not prepared for the funeral arrangements. And I know that you were having conversations with various funeral homeowners to see if we can get some information out to the community to be better prepared for those situations. From day one to now, has there been any difference in terms of, even though it's indirectly something that you don't deal with, but because you're dealing with life events, have you seen any improvement in that area?
Well, I've developed a very good rapport with the Garden State Funeral Directors Association and the members of that group. And so I've addressed them, and I think I've opened up a real dialogue with several of the funeral directors where they feel very comfortable at calling, asking for questions, directing their customers to us so that we can be alerted that they're coming down. But in terms of actually doing something to help with the estate planning portion of it, as you know, they deal with the back end of it like we do. And so unfortunately, they don't have much opportunity to do much on the front end. They don't do much in terms of an education piece. So unfortunately, I haven't been very successful with them, but I do that with churches and other groups as well. So
In your community outreach.
exactly.
Thank you. Council members, are there any questions at this time for Judge Stevens? No?
None
Council-
for me.
No. Thank you, Council Vice President. Councilman Corbett, any questions?
None at this time, thank you.
Okay, are we gonna let Judge Stevens leave? He's doing a great job, no question?
I'd like to, Council President, I'd like to thank him for the website information, because that's important for me to put it on blast in the West Ward. And I think that just knowing that is enough.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Before you leave, Judge Stevens, if any council members, you gotta come back to this. If any council members happen to think of something after this, can you leave your cards? So I know you're good with people coming to your office and sitting down, having a one-on-one. So
I know you just wanted to see if I actually am in my office, but that's all right. I am there every day. My number, I'm happy to leave my cards. My number is 973-621-4900. But I believe I have enough cards for members of council.
and one more time, that's
621-4900.
Okay. And of course,
Council President.
if Council President?
I just want to say, you stood me up. Don't forget Friday, 1 o'clock.
Friday, I'll be there. I don't know what you mean by that. The first I'm sure you'll tell me.
And Judge Stevens, just.
Wherever it is.
Whatever it is, I'll learn later. It's always my fault anyway,
That's
so it's
right,
okay.
that's right.
And Judge Stephen, in close, as you know, our liaison to the county is Ken Garrett.
Sure.
So if a council member doesn't reach you, Ken may be walking in your office on behalf of a council member, because we send him about 50 questions a day.
Sure, well, Mr. Garrett and I are well acquainted. Be happy to see him.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And Matt, and moving the agenda, are there any ordinances and/or resolutions that council members would like to discuss at this time?
Thank you, sir.
If
Yes,
Councilman Colon?
296.
296, okay. 296 is the bill list.
Yes, yes, the
Okay,
building.
and you direct us to the page, pages?
Let's start on. Let's start on page 8.
Let's start on page 8, okay.
The mobility coach transportation, that's the company that drives the vans, the buses for the the seniors.
Director Mays?
Yeah, that's something I have to look into unless Mr. Mapp knows.
Director Matt?
Adrian Mapp, Director of Finance. And the answer is yes.
Okay. And the Veteran Day hot dogs for $600.
Same page, Council?
Same page, same
Okay.
page. My understanding that the Veterans Day events were canceled.
Okay, I'm looking for.
And we still paying
okay, gotcha.
for,
Right
hot
below
dogs?
it, the $600, community service, Director Matt, $600.
The Veterans Day program was to be rescheduled to the 15th. I don't know if it occurred or not, but whether or not it
No.
occurred, supplies would have been purchased in anticipation that event would have occurred.
This is a vendor, so this is to a vendor. So if
Sandwiches.
the event did not happen, was the vendor still paid?
It would have been processed to be paid, so there would have been a purchase order entered into the system. And so, since the event did not occur, in all likelihood, payment was not dispersed, because you're not supposed to disperse prior to the service or the goods being delivered.
So
But this
should-
would have been in preparation for that.
Okay, in that case, we should remove it because the event did not happen.
If the event didn't
It didn't.
occur,
Okay.
I would say yes.
Okay,
Okay.
it was rescheduled and it was canceled again, so.
Okay.
We'll remove
Okay.
it, okay.
And page 11, McMahon in Scotland, on the Transit Village escrow,
Page, I'm sorry, Councilman, Sam.
page 11.
Page 11?
Yes, yes, yes. I thought that we already had the Transit Village designation.
Director Mays?
Yes, we already do have the Transit Village designation, but again, McManaman in Scotland, they are our redevelopment attorneys. So this is an escrow account. So what happens here is these fees are being paid by the developer. These monies are fronted, they're escrow monies, and then being, so this is, what you see here is not necessarily the city paying this out. This is being paid out by developers since this is a escrow account. And I'm assuming they just calling it Transit Village escrow, but it is an escrow account.
So you're saying this $15,763 is not being paid?
It's
By the
being
city?
paid, not, it's being processed through the city, but it's an escrow account, meaning that the developers deposit a certain amount of funds into an account that the city oversees, and these funds are now being paid back directly to the redevelopment council.
Okay. All right. On page 14, the bottom of 14, Ebon Environmental Service LLC.
At the bottom of page 14.
I see that we have two payments for them for $27.50. Any reason for that?
Yeah,
This
sorry.
is page,
14.
page,
The bottom
well,
of
actually,
page
it's
14.
page 14, yo,
If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, it says 14.
2750.
One is void,
Yeah.
one says void.
One
You
says,
see it on the left? Because it's the same bill twice and one says void.
okay.
The one on the top says void.
And this is the cleaning for the police department.
This is the cleaning for the police department, and this is the cleaning that we said we would provide based on the fact that the janitorial services contract was on the last agenda and it didn't go forward. So the police department was in desperate need of some cleaning, and Ebon Services did do that, and this is one aspect of it. This was cleaning of the windows.
What about the trash, the toilets, and the mopping of the floors and everything else?
Right, that also was part of what they did, so that you probably see those bills on the next bill list. They did the bathrooms, they did a complete sanitizing of the police building, so there's, I think, 2 more bills that are gonna be coming forward.
Okay. And I have one more question. Page 16. Keith Royster, 1-year pro web hosting. First of all, can I have Mr. Matt? Can I ask you a question, Mr. Matt? Maybe this is for you too, Marty, Mr. Mays. As an employee of the town, can you be like a consultant also to the town?
No.
Okay, so
Well, yeah.
so what is this exactly? I'm just,
I was anticipating that, and as the CFO said, employees make disbursements and are reimbursed for certain disbursements made on behalf of the municipality. And this is simply a reimbursement to an employee.
reimbursement.
Yeah, if you purchase something for the use of the municipality of Orange from your funds, we will reimburse you for that purchase.
Okay. I think that's all I have, Council.
Madam President?
On the bill list?
Yes.
Yes.
On page 1, it says communications, and it's internet from Metcalf and Colgate. Who uses that? It's for $202, $83 for Colgate.
Page 1.
It says under communications, cable, internet, Metcalf, cable, internet, Colgate.
Okay.
I see that. I don't know who uses that service.
Okay.
I'm
Can we?
sorry. I'm gonna take a stab at that. I may be wrong, but in all the parks, we have cameras, and in order for those cameras, we had to have internet in the park. So you'll see, in all the parks, there's at least one computer with the internet that we're able to view the cameras. And I can't explain the rest
But
of it.
that's what I'm trying to say. I've seen the cameras. I know exactly what you're talking about. The screen with all of. But who's looking at it? Because did somebody work in there during the off season?
Nobody's viewing the cameras on the live. I'm sorry.
That is not something that we probably want to discuss.
Okay. I mean, I know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I got it. Okay.
They may be tied into the police station as well.
That was it for me.
Okay, on the bill list, Mr. Mapp,
Yes.
can you, so the bill list is 5.7, grand total of 5.7, 5.8.
Yes.
Of the five, can you give a breakdown of what, it appears to me, let me answer this question, that tonight you're asking for an approval to pay like $700,000, and then maybe $2 million has been dispersed in salaries, and then 1.2 has been dispersed with that contract already that has been going back and forth. So can you give a basic breakdown on the bill list of what has already been dispersed versus what will be dispersed?
I'll try.
Okay.
You have on this bill list, you have payroll for September 19th. That's one payroll. Then there's a payroll for October 3rd. That's 2. October 17th is 3. And October 31st is 4. Each payroll averages about $1 million. So that's $4 million.
So that's four, okay, payroll, four payrolls for $4 million, okay.
Then you have the disbursement to the vendor that you made reference to, the 1.2.
Right.
So that takes you to 5 million, 5 million 2, 5 million 3. And I would have to think that the rest of it are
$740,000.
the many invoices that, the many POs that are listed there.
Okay. And, okay, so then the 700, that's probably about four, okay, 740K, okay. And regarding Scafar, have,
And I see there are two interest payments
for the water.
for the water of 487,000.
So almost 400,000, okay. And just, and Scafar is done, paid, the okay,
I hope so.
all right. Just stop screaming from, if you want to talk, please approach the podium. Attorney Smith, is Scafar finished?
Is Scafar finished?
Yes.
I believe so.
In terms of settled and paid?
There's maybe one document we're waiting back from, but generally speaking, yes.
Okay.
Let-
Council,
Let's say we made the payment for the claim that was made.
so the payment, and then we're just waiting for the rest of the documents from the legal department. Councilman Easton?
While you're on the payroll, quick question to Mr. Mapp. Mr. Mapp, is it possible that you, in the salary accounts, that you can pay an employee out of somebody else's budget without transferring dollars?
In accounting, there is an allocation methodology. So it is quite possible, and I don't know what situation you're referring to, but it is quite possible for an employee who is in one department providing services to another for those dollars to be allocated proportionately to the department where the service is being provided.
But if the employees has not provided services to any other department, can you still pay them out of another department's, add them to another department's salary account without transferring the money?
Again, if the employee
Well, I
is
just said they didn't do that. So my question is, and as Judge Judy would say, all it requires is a yes or no.
well, I can't answer it.
If an employee that is in an apartment and he does not support any other group, can you legally pay them out of another department's salary account without transferring dollars?
I'm not going to render a legal opinion. I will leave
I didn't
that
ask
to
for
the-
it. I just say
You asked me if you can legally.
You are director of finance. Just a
Yeah.
yes or no answer will suffice.
I cannot give a yes or no answer. I cannot.
Well, what can you answer?
Councilman
regarding
Coley, just a second,
So-
just a chair.
So
The counselor asked me if you can legally do X,
well,
Y,
let
or
me take
Z.
legally out of it. Let me
Okay.
ask another question in another
Properly.
way.
Okay.
And I'm gonna take legally out of
How
it.
about
That's for
properly, yeah.
our legal attorney over here. If an employee, can you pay an employee out of another department's salary account if they provide no services and are not part of that department?
You should not.
Okay,
You cannot.
you should not.
You should not.
You didn't say you would not do it, but you said you should not.
I'm saying you should not. That's my answer. I don't know what you're referring to, so
Council-
that's my best answer.
Councilwoman Easton, Councilman Coley has a follow-up.
Yes, I have a follow-up to that. If you don't mind, Miss Councilman Easton, Council President.
I don't mind.
I know this is in your document right here, Mr. Matt. However, the information, how this document was created came from the information that was provided, I guess, from, the office that you oversee. And I'm looking at, this document here, that we got last week.
I received a copy on today, so I know what document you're referring to.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to, the payroll, and is, how it's coded, the clerk's, payroll, salary payroll, is coded 120. And we have, several people that's in the clerk's office listed here. including Keith Royster. Is Keith Royster part of the clerk's office?
First of all, and I leave this up to the city attorney, but I think it's improper to be discussing employees
Council,
openly.
let me just
like
direct,
that.
let me just, Councilman Coley, if you're asking a question,
Well,
please, just let me, please keep it general. You
Well,
cannot mention
let me.
specific names.
Okay, well, you have one employee who's not in the clerk's office being paid by the salary like counts from the clerk's office. And you just stated that should not happen, but it is happening.
But you didn't hear, or you are ignoring the first explanation that I gave under the age-old allocation methodology of accounting, that if a person provides a service to more than one department, it is proper to allocate those dollars among the departments to which he or she provides that
Okay,
service.
Madam President,
Okay. And remind it that there may be a better area in agenda if you're gonna get specific, because right now we're on agenda.
okay,
And it's on, we're talking about the, I'm sorry, about the bill list. So the salary is a bill list question, just
Exactly.
kinda keep it, tight.
Yeah, exactly.
Councilman, wait, I'm sorry, Councilman Coley was about to,
well, I'm not trying to, go too far off the reservation here. However, this person is not,
just say generally speaking.
okay, generally speaking, an employee is not in the clerk's office, but they're
Or
being,
in the specific office.
right, they're
Just-
not in the specific office, but they're being paid, from that office. How can we correct that?
Okay. That's assuming that an error has occurred. If an error has occurred, it should and can be corrected. However, keep in mind the explanation that I gave earlier, that if you have an employee, whoever that employee is, that provides services to more than one department, the accounting methodology of allocation, you can allocate a person to more than one department.
Okay,
Councilman?
Okay.
if that is the case, this employee,
Just generally
well,
speaking, if the employee,
generally speaking,
if the employee, if an employee.
generally speaking, we have not gotten those services because our camera,
Generally speaking.
generally speaking,
If the
because our
service has
camera
not been
system
provided,
has
okay,
been
Councilman
down
Coley, let me,
since I've been here, so I
Councilman
can't.
Coley, Councilman Coley.
I'm not gonna
if-
get into that.
Councilman Coley, if we have to go into specific, it does provide for us to go in executive session,
Okay.
and we can. Councilman Coley, I did, just a second, Councilman East, I just handed you a document, which I did not have enough to give Mr. Matt a copy. Thank you, Councilman Corbett. So what I can say is, Councilman, and nor did I have a copy for the attorney, so if you could just show him your document, Councilman Nisa. And perhaps after reviewing it, we may have to go into a brief executive session. But if you have a general question, please keep it general. Councilwoman Nisa.
Prior to you going in there, let me just,
And we'll do it at a later time
let's
now.
do a general question.
Okay.
Thank you, I apologize for going that far to reservation.
If Mr. Director Mapp's analogy or explanation could hold water, which it doesn't, then that should have been part of the budget process. When we were budgeting, using our budget, if the employee was gonna be spread among multiple departments,
And we
it
had that
should
with
have
the
been
water
in the
department.
budget, and we should have improved it. That did not happen. So I wanna know how, after the budget is passed, you automatically decide.
If we,
That-
Councilwoman, you're getting too specific, so we're gonna do
No,
that in
I
executive
did- I
session.
that you automatically decide that you're gonna spread an employee over 3 budgets, 3 departments.
And Councilwoman, let me remember the water department, that was done in the water department, and we asked why it was split. So if it was done in one area, why wasn't it done in other areas?
No, I forget about the water department. I'm talking about budgeting,
That's-
which is what we do and we pride ourselves in doing. anytime there's a budget done, if an and this is my history of doing budgets, if a person is gonna be spread over multiple departments, that recommendation is made in the time of the budget, and it is in the budget process.
Correct.
That did not happen. So you now can't go back and say, we did X, Y, Z because until you go back and reallocate those dollars, you cannot make that decision. That's all I have to say.
And Director
Council
Mack,
President.
during, I'm sorry, and what I was just saying, if you recall during the budget process, that question was asked specifically about, during the budget process, specifically in the water department, it was areas split up. And that was talked about, but if it has happened after the budget process, would that require you to come back to this legislative body to explain that there may have to be some amendments post-budget being approved?
Amendments can't occur.
No, talking about that there may have to be, to put this body on notice.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with information sharing.
Okay. Councilwoman Butler?
Yes. So, you know where I'm going with this, Director Matt.
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Put your seatbelt on.
Yes. So, you know, I've been on the corrective action plan. You know, I've been on the proactive planning and adhering to the budget and having a spending plan, which has not been adhered to. So my question for you is, if things are being incorrectly charged, what is the process in the finance department that you use to ensure that they are correctly charged?
Anything that is incorrectly charged, once identified, is corrected.
So there is no forethought. This is my question. So if I work at a bank and money comes into the bank, there's a process of verification to ensure that that money is not forfeit.
Correct.
So my question for you is, what is that process for the finance department? How do you ensure that things are being done correctly prior to and not after the fact?
We basically monitor the work that is done by employees. I have consultations with the CFO. I have consultations with other members of the administration. And there are directives that are given, and based on the information that we have and the knowledge that we have of the situation, there are decisions and transactions that are made.
Okay, that's a very general comment, and it's not specific enough, especially when you're dealing with millions of dollars, which we are dealing with, and you're dealing with a municipality that is struggling to ensure that their dollars are spent well and that they get the services that are provided, and that is not a proactive plan or a recipe for success.
That assumes that there are mistakes being made. And yes, mistakes are made from time to time. And it is important that when mistakes are made and that you are aware of the mistakes, it is important to correct those mistakes.
I agree with that, but my point is that something needs to be done prior to money going out that ensures that, at least to the best of our ability, that things are being done accurately.
And we do have those controls in place.
It doesn't sound like any specificity to me, any amount of specificity, so.
Council President.
Before we come
I'm
back to you,
finished.
Councilwoman Easton, or any other discussion from any other body before we come back to Councilwoman Easton? Councilwoman Easton?
And then just to piggyback on what, also, if you decide that services are being provided to another department, shouldn't the department know what those services are before you decide to split an employee? Doesn't it have to come back to that body to say, or they have to make a request to say, we're utilizing 90% of the time or 50, so we agree? That didn't happen either. So wouldn't that be the normal process in the corrective action plan to say, let me go back to that department and say this employee is 20% here, 50%, so that they will know that you are going to take money out of their budget to pay somebody that was not budgeted for?
Well, this discussion has nothing to do with the correction action plan. But I would agree with you that there's absolutely nothing wrong with two-way communication. One department being informed of the intended actions. And so I would agree with you that sharing that information would make sense.
So my last question is, so why does that not happen now? And things are being done without that information being shared and that process being followed. Why aren't we adhering to that?
I can't explain to you why the council wasn't informed of the fact of the allocation. It wasn't done. It should have been done.
Councilwoman, one more question, I'm sorry. So, as Director of Finance, do you ever get to a point where you said, no, this is not right, and I need to do X, Y, and Z? Or
I
do
do
you
that all the
just-
time.
Or do you just, so even though you ask the question, you don't get an answer, you just move forward with the direction that someone gives you?
Absolutely not. I say no to a number of things. I don't just act because someone tells me to act. But you keep missing the point I made about the
Mr. Matt,
allocation methodology.
We have the point that, the general point, Councilwoman Easton, we're gonna move on. I just wanna know
I'm
for
finished.
you, in conclusion, with your payroll and your corrective action plan, even though it didn't move, if you put it, even though the payroll, even though the corrective action plan didn't, get voted in the affirmative by this body, you still have to do your corrective action plan that you put for.
We have done a corrective
Doing and
action
done.
plan.
Okay.
Yes.
Just as a note on payroll audit number 18, it was noted that Excel spreadsheets were provided for the calculation of 2013 salaries. However, some of the salary guide used to compile these spreadsheets were not available for review. The recommendation city should use and maintain as approved salary guide to ensure proper salary rates are used for all municipal employee payroll calculations. The explanation and corrective action, the city will use and maintain an approved salary guide to ensure proper salary rates are used for all municipal employees. It's 2014 and ongoing, so that's kind of outside of it. But so in terms of this payroll and your corrective action plan, you noted that you were making some changes to improve how salaries were being administered to employees. So I just wanted to note that on your corrective action plan, that you.
Employees should not, and I don't believe there is even one instance of where an employee was paid outside of the salary band. I think what might have been said, if I recall what you just read correctly, is that there are certain documents that were not made available.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that there was a problem in terms of how an employee was paid. If the employee is paid within the band, then there's nothing wrong with that. But the document should be available when the auditor requests to see those documents.
All right. Moving on, council members, are any other additional questions on the bill list? Are there any other ordinances and/or resolutions that need to be discussed? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Summer Johnson. Sorry, Councilwoman Butler. We are adjourned in the conference meeting at 7:49 p.m. Council members, we will resume promptly at 8 o'clock because we just, and please note the document that was just handed to you is a confidential document and it has confidential information on it, so it cannot be shared. 8 o'clock p.m. This is, council members, a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held in the council chambers, City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Monday, November 17, 2014, immediately following the conference meeting. Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Oh, no one today.
could you lead us with the pledge of
Oh, you
allegiance?
already said it.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. now do a roll call. Councilman Coley,
Present.
Councilman Corbett,
Here.
Councilwoman Eason,
Here.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler,
Present.
Councilman Johnson,
Here.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Present.
Councilman Williams, I am present as well. Again, for the record, Madeline Smith is not with us tonight. Standing in her stead is Margaret Homer from the clerk's office. Also present is Director Marty Mays on behalf of the administration, City Attorney Dan Smith, Director of Finance Adrian Matt, CFO Joy Lascari, Legislative Research Officer Kevin Harris, and again, the various director is Sergeant standing in for the police department is Sergeant Jacobs, Chief Dowd from the fire department, and our county liaison, Ken Garrett. I'm sure I haven't missed anybody. The NJSA 10:4-9 Sunshine Law has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and published in the record transcript on July 17, 2014, posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. We'll be moving to item number 4, approval of the October 7, 2014 conference and regular meeting. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley,
In favor.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler,
In favor.
Councilwoman Williams in favor as well. Motion passes 7 yeas. Moving to reports for the clerk's office, the month of October 2014, a total of $312.41. For the Department of Community Service for the month of October, $12,262.25. Regarding OPA requests, for October, 28 OPA requests were received. And as you know, they have multiple items. There were 259 items completed and 13 are pending. We did not get a copy of the report. Ms. O'Meara, can you ensure that the council is emailed a copy of this report tomorrow?
Sure.
Moving to council reports, is there a report for the for the Housing Authority?
Council President, I will make a report at the next council meeting. I need to follow up on a few things from the last Orange Housing Authority meeting I attended, and my notes are a little scattered, so I'll prepare something written for the clerk's office.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. Is there a report for the fire department?
Council President, I'm gonna have, Deputy Chief Dowd.
Chief Dowd.
Chief Dowd, okay.
And before Chief Dowd.
Yes, I'm gonna have him come up and report on
Okay,
that.
and before he reports, no, come Chief Dowd, while he comes, I'm sorry. Just so the council gets their reports out. Councilman Coley, do you have anything prior, before he reports?
No, not at this time, no.
Chief Dowd?
Michael R. Dowd, Acting Fire Chief, City of Orange Township. I'd just like to report to the council that in the past 2 weeks we had 2 major fires in the city, at 361 and 369 Park Avenue. We had a four-alarm fire, which required almost every department in the county to assist us. It occurred at approximately 11 a.m. in the morning. It was an occupied apartment building. We had numerous people trapped and hanging from the building. One gentleman actually jumped from the 3rd floor and was injured. We had 6 injuries. Fortunately, we had no fatalities. But due to the great actions of the fire department and the police department, we rescued numerous people. And we contained the fire to only 3 or 4 apartments. So both buildings were saved. One is not occupied at this time due to the damage. 361 was able to be restored and put power returned to it within 24 to 48 hours. So the tenants there were allowed to go back to their homes. Unfortunately, the tenants of 369 are going to be out of their homes for an extended period of time. I can not give you an estimate when that repairs will be made there. This last Friday, the 14th, we had another 3rd alarm fire at Snyder Street around 10 o'clock in the morning. Due to the heavy wind conditions, the wind gusted up to maybe 20, 25 miles an hour. We had a 2-story, 3-unit townhouse, row frame, so to speak, just at the corner of Center Street. Like I said, the wind picked up, and where it was fire was on the second floor of the corner unit, it now extended across 3 units, so we lost three buildings there. But fortunately, we were able to contain it to those 3, and then we had the potential of losing a couple of more buildings. Also, no injuries were reported, except for 1 fireman with minor injury. So the fire department has been very busy this week, this month, and but like I said, I'm glad to report that there are no fatalities.
Are there any questions for Director Dow?
I just have one,
Councilman Cole?
Council President. With the closing of the Washington Street Firehouse, do you think if it was open, it could have helped improve the performance of the fire department during these last 2 fires that we had?
Fortunately, anytime we were forced to close a company temporarily due to economics, it does reduce the fire protection. There's no doubt about that. But in these 2 separate incidents, it would have no wouldn't have changed the what occurred. The one on Snyder Street, the fire was already fully involved on the second floor, and the wind conditions were such that it wouldn't have made any difference, in my professional opinion. Fortunately, we are going to those companies should be open shortly, but it does have an effect when it is closed. I will say that.
All right, thank you.
Council President?
Councilwoman Gordon Butler?
Yes, on another note, I'm sorry, I want to say Director Dowd, so.
Okay.
Chief Dowd. On another note, can you tell me anything about festivities happening on Thanksgiving?
Yes, the fire department will be conducting its annual Thanksgiving Day dinner in the afternoon at the firehouse for the needy persons of the city. We've been doing this for the past couple of years. It's been very successful, and we anticipated another successful event this year.
And if anybody would like to donate?
If anybody would like to donate, they can contact the fire department at 973-266-4230 or 4234 to make any donations.
Thank you. And going back to the fires that we have, you mentioned that the participation of the police and fire. After that, there is continuing for the Park Avenue fire, continuing ongoing service for the people that are displaced, just so the community serve with the various departments in City Hall.
I would like to take this opportunity. I represent the fire department, but all the agencies of the city worked. The OEM office, we immediately set up a shelter area at the Park Avenue School. We contacted New Jersey Transit. They immediately sent us buses. We put people in buses just to shelter them on the scene for the weather conditions. And then when it was determined that they would not be able to move back, we transported them down to Park Avenue School. And even after the fire was completely out, fire companies and police units were on the scene, police guarding the buildings, and we assisting the tenants to get whatever valuables they could. And we were, through OEM, working a couple of days, I think till Wednesday, working with the tenants to try to assist them with relocation. Now, even though the fire department is not the lead agency at that point, we still had a presence to try to help them out. And I think I would commend all the community service department and the OEM department and all the city departments that worked diligently and well coordination in helping solve part of the problem of housing for those tenants.
Thank you, Chief. Councilwoman Easton.
Chief. Well, I'm going to call you Director.
That's all right. I was.
When you leave
Technically,
out,
you're correct.
But I'm not going to try and. But I just want to say thank you to the fire department and all the work that you guys put in for the fire, for the 2 fires, especially the one on Park Avenue. And also, I think we need to do a special thanks to Yvonne Eichner because she worked tireless on 361, 369. I was there on Wednesday when we closed the Park Avenue, and she was making sure that everybody was situated, they had somewhere to go. So I think she deserves recognition for all the hard work, because when the fire broke out on Friday and I started getting the phone calls, I said to myself, poor Yvonne, because she had just came out of a fire, and then she had to go and do that one also. But also, I just wanted to update that 361, those residents are basically okay.
Correct. They're back in their
Most of them have found
apartment.
locations, and we're still working on finding housings for some of them. We had a group that came in on Saturday, Tiz from Cedar Grove, and you're talking about precision and processing those residents from 361. They did a superb job. All of those that showed up got money to help them with whatever they needed. And I think if you lost everything, they gave you $500. If you didn't lose everything, you got $100. I mean, they had like 50 to 75 volunteers here on Saturday. And that was, I mean, something I hadn't seen in Orange in a long time. So we're going to do a thank you letter to them. And I got to meet a lot of them. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of work.
There was a private corporation from Cedar
I
Grove
also
that did
wanted,
assist.
just in case, the Bellataya, Appian Way, and Libretti's donated food on Sunday afternoon. So they had a good meal.
On Saturday, Sunday.
Sunday afternoon after church, I collected food from each one of those places and drove it to Park Avenue. So they got some good, decent food, vegetables. So we want to thank them also. And I just want to say for the residents, if you're in Orange and you need to go out to eat, spend some money at those restaurants, because whenever we go to them for help, they always give. So we need to make sure that we frequent those establishments when we can, instead of always taking our money outside of Orange.
Well,
And just as a
Councilwoman,
thank you.
on that note, I second that. All the businesses in the city of Orange have always supported the fire department and any of our requests, from the White Castle, from the Dunkin' Donuts, but all these 8 businesses, when we ask them when we have an emergency, they always step up and assist us. I'd just like to mention that
And
John
also-
Wade and Pam Taylor of the OEM office assisted Ms. Eichner in her job, and all 3 did an excellent job.
And don't forget Star Tavern. I forgot Star Tavern.
Star
There was
Tavern,
a lot, because every business in Orange, we appreciate everybody who participated, because there were probably ones that we don't really know about. So thank you, Director. Chief Dow, stop.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Council President,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
I
I'm
do
sorry.
have.
I apologize.
You don't have to
Councilman-
apologize.
Councilman Johnson?
Chief Dow.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. I would like to know, Council President, the Orange Fire Department, how much of the new equipment that we've been purchasing for them that they have an opportunity to use in these 2 theaters?
The purchase of the ladder truck is completed. I think the contract is about to be signed. Those 2 new items are really long-term capital improvements. We will not see them till September of next year. The used equipment that we did purchase was operated, so we were fortunate the council gave us some money to purchase some used engines in anticipation of the new equipment, and that equipment was used. So it's greatly needed, especially in the wintertime now, equipment breaks down. But as far as the new capital improvement, the engine should be out to bid in another month, but we do not anticipate that delivery until at least September of next year. The ladder truck alone is like $950,000 with all the equipment, and the process is they're custom built, especially for the city of Orange with the railroad bridges and the heights. So you won't see that till next year.
Well, my main concern of this question was I wanted to know if the used engine truck or ladder you was talking about, we actually had it, and we had it in this theater.
One of them we did.
Yes.
Yes. One of them we did.
How about the hoses, the new hoses?
We did buy some new large diameter. You'll see it's not yellow; it's green now. That's just the manufacturer's color. So that was used in the streets, and that was desperately needed because I think about 2 months ago we had a fire and it actually burst at the hydrant. So we have that in service right now.
Okay, Council President, thank you much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of Chief Dow?
Yeah, I just have one. With our new pumping station, how has the water pressure been at the fire hydrants?
Luckily, Orange has great water. Now, talking with the water department, it is a 100-year-old system, and they're having a lot of water main breaks lately, but we've had no problem with water supply at any fires, and the water department immediately sends a representative to the fire scene. So we have a good rapport with them, but we have not experienced any problem with any of our fires as far as water problems come.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Chief Dow.
Council President, Chief Dow.
Thank you, Council President.
Continuing on with the reports, is there a report from the police department,
Nothing at this time.
library,
Nothing at this time.
ABC,
Nothing at this time.
the finance, as you know, we had this past August 13th, had a budget review. The reports, for those who were not present, two things. The council is now recording the council meetings, as you see. So all council meetings, I apologize, are available on YouTube, and there is a YouTube channel, City of Orange Township Council, and effective October 21st, all of those meetings are up on the YouTube channel, including the most recent, the budget review, which was on November 13th. That report was put on the table outside. I understand that they are all out. If you need one, they are available in the clerk's office tomorrow. They will make more copies if needed. And there are some more out on the table. Director Mays regarding Public Works.
No report at this time.
Councilwoman Easton Planning.
No report at this time.
And HR has no report at this time. Are there any reports that I've missed? If not, we're moving to communications and petitions. Petitions received at the last meeting from the taxpayers and residents and business owners, or the most recent petitions received. Citizens' comments on general issues and agenda items. Pursuant to Section 4-10 of the Code of the City of Orange Township, each person addressing the City Council shall step up to the microphone, shall give his or her name in an audible tone for the record, and unless further time is granted by the presiding officer, shall limit his or her address to 10 minutes. The public is expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted. The chair will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments. William R. Lewis.
Council President, members of the Orange City Council, my name is William R. Voorhees Skank Lewis. Everyone can. We have a bunch of names. Anyway, I think first we ought to offer congratulations to Director Hakeem Sims, who Saturday night was honored by the Gilliland Association. And it was at Mayfair Farms, and there was a crowd there. And since Orange is a family, it was great to see Councilmember Coley and Councilmember Butler present, and along with the mayor and the city attorney and the top officials in the police and fire departments. But as we are indeed a family, it would have been nice to see a big crowd there standing when one of our own gets honored. And you have to remember that everything isn't written down in a leadership book someplace. People talk about that. I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of people after they'd been fired, to find out what happened. And they all said, nobody told me what to do. I said, no, you weren't listening. But anyway, moving on, I want to give compliments to Councilwoman Summers Johnson, Southwood, for the meeting she had at Hayward. But I question, what were those other council members doing there? Councilman Harold Johnson, Councilman Corbett and Councilwoman Butler. Again, it's not in the book, but you violated the Sunshine Law, right, Mr. Attorney? So you need to be careful about that. And if you have meetings, you should sit down. And I was a stickler for this. No more, none of my meeting notices went out from my organization saying we're going to have a meeting to discuss. It was to establish a policy or determine a course of action or something of that nature. Because if you discuss, that's what you do. But you also don't direct yourself and you don't prepare the people coming in. And I think I would not have, unless there's somebody is a topic of discussion, I would not have a member of the administration there, department head or anything like that. And you got to have something for the people to do who attend, and something, and the thing that they take away with them is education. If you leave a person, if I leave a meeting without having learned something, I feel very disappointed. That leads me to the last council meeting, which was hysterical. And again, I come back to leadership and the JCs. I mentioned the JCs, and you know what that means. And I think part of the problem is that there's not enough exposure, just as there's not enough information on TV about what do engineers such as myself do. So what's a kid going to do? If he doesn't know that engineers, when you graduate from engineering school, you are instant middle class, if nothing else. So, but when someone has this mic, they have the floor until they quit what they have to say. You shouldn't be interrupting them, and you have to be careful in dealing with these things, because if you get into the legal area, that's a problem, because only the city attorney should be speaking or some designated legislator. And but that's, these people out here who come to this mic are your bosses. They're the taxpayers. What are you yelling at them for? Why are you so impolite, insulting? I mean, that's crazy. And people say, nobody ever told me. I said, well, how is it somebody, some people know? But let's see. Going on, let me go, resolutions 297 and 298, and appointments. Council President and I had a discussion about this out in the hallway, across the hall here previously, and indirectly she didn't know it. But the fact is that you need a clerk. There's a file of resolutions passed by the council over the years that become the rules of the House. And in fact, there's something called the rules of the House. So the clerk isn't there just to, you know, get this meeting together and things of that nature. Besides being the chief election official in town, the clerk also has historical knowledge. And the clerk is to keep you out of trouble and keep you from being embarrassed. But there are resolutions in there because when I was on the council, we apportioned all the appointments among the council members. That's already been done. So you need to question that, but you also, I don't know. Well, I saw it in industry. I saw that, as I said, if I was chief of staff for the regional engineering director, and later on the divisional engineering director, and I was the liaison between the engineering division and the legal department in AT&T before I retired. And I studied law myself at NJIT. All electrical engineers have to do that because they think we're going to be hot shots. So, but so I know a little bit about the law. When I was president of Newark JCs, Junior Chamber of Commerce, one of our honorees was Judge Herb Stern. If you don't know anything about Judge Herb Stern, ask some of your legal friends. His chief assistant, he was honored by my chapter for his work when he was the Essex County prosecutor. His chief assistant, Jonathan Goldstein, was my personal counsel. If you don't know anything about Judge Herb Stern, ask about Goldstein. I don't hang around with people who, unless they are top notch, because I want to give the best I can to the folks. But there is a file on resolutions, and there's a file on House rule, council rules, and you need to look at that and become familiar. Those of you who just come aboard and you say, "Oh boy, this is a snap. This is easy." It's easy because you haven't found the necessity to go into the files to find out what the dickens you're supposed to be doing. So you're kind of floating around here from, pillar to post, and a clerk could guide you in the right direction and say, "Don't do this, don't do that." What if the city attorney didn't tell you? We had an assistant city attorney named Tom Vina, and he said, "You don't want to do that." And he suggests ways to do things without getting, fights among the council. And one way, obviously, being to write a letter to somebody, the legislature, the Congress, etc., and state your views and get those council members who agree with those views to co-sign that letter. Mr. Feld won't be here tonight. He had some family business to take care of, but he called me, and he told me, and he went through a whole raft of things. I'm not even going to touch them. I told him I wasn't. But anyway, one of them was about $27,000, something like that. $20,627 to the YWCA, a bankrupt organization. And it raises a whole bunch of questions. I had those questions before with regards to certain appointments, such as, why are you getting involved with some people who are in court? That's the time they would go in the other direction. My father used to say, if you hear gunshots, go in the other direction, because the bullet doesn't know who it's aimed at. And you read about it in the paper later on. If you run over there to see what's going on, you might get hit by one of those stray bullets. But I just want to pass that along to you anyway, because you need to look at it and think about it as you go down the pike. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis. Next is Caitlin Gordon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kathleen Gordon, 211 Park Place. There are two resolutions I want to touch upon. The first one is 299/2014, which is a termination of a contract of an engineering company, PS&S. The background behind it, that this company has been retained by a resolution 47/2014 in February of this year, and was awarded an emergency contract for an emergency contract, emergency disconnect of a transmission water main at the Chestnut Street plant. In the middle of the year, 4 or 5 months later, the company has not done the job, and the water main broke. The necessary deliverables were not delivered at this point yet, 4 months later. Emergency situation. Another firm took care of the job, and the city paid the original company $2,800. And I am wondering why the termination is just now, rather than immediately when the other company took over. Why was this company paid at all? And rather than the company responsible that the water main eventually broke 4 months later. These situations are eerily reminiscent of the problem that we had with SCAFAR, where we are paying certainly not even close amount, but the situation is similar, and the council should pay attention and not allow, if you hire somebody, if you retain somebody for an emergency, it is improper to pay them when they did not the job, and in fact, were possibly responsible for delaying so that the water main broke. That brings me to Resolution 293, 2014, not because it is similar, but it is another current retaining of an engineering company, and for this very reason I looked into the contract, and the contract has no deadline. It is improper that we have contracts with no deadlines, and therefore it can be pushed around, and meanwhile the city is running down. The only reminiscent thing to deadline was the scope of services can be completed and delivered once they are hired within 4 to 6 weeks. Can be delivered is not a legal term. It has to be more than that. It has to be more concrete. Maybe the starting point cannot be set at this time, but once they started, you have to be holding these companies responsible to finish the job within a reasonable time. As you know, I am a member of the Public Works Committee, and we had a scheduled meeting last Wednesday, and I want to let you know that the public members were at the door, and we couldn't get entrance into the city hall. Okay, regarding grants, I pointed out a while ago that Newark has received a substantial grant. It turns out to be $3 million for the improvement of its water system, and I pointed out that we should investigate that. I have not heard any word where that investigation for grants is at this point. I would like to have a follow-up.
And you said status of grants, or?
Yes, asking for, seeking grant.
Okay.
About 3 weeks ago, I submitted to each of you a letter requesting you review or what is going on at the clerk's office, which is under your direct supervision in the matter of OPRA. For those who may not know what OPRA means, in the public, it stands for Open Public Records Act, and it is our state's version of the Freedom of Information Act. City government records can be requested freely at the clerk's office, and the clerk has an obligation to provide them. Too loud? Within 7 business days. I am clearly speaking because I have had some bad experience and problems with receiving documents under OPRA. In my letter to you, I asked each to respond to my concerns, which were twofold. One, I have demonstrated to you that many times the clerk's office has been found at fault with deliveries. 2, I brought it to your attention that legal material seems to be disappearing from the clerk's office. Three of you have responded at the last council meeting to my first point, and I thank you to those for the response. Nobody responded to the second point, which I think is even more important, if possible, than the first one. I think basically everyone who responded echoed Councilwoman Eason's sentiment that the clerk's office and Deputy City Clerk Madeline Smith is doing her best, and the problem stems for different departments not delivering the requested material themselves. Councilwoman Eason, you seem to be way underestimating the intelligence of the legislature. OPRA does not require only the clerk or custodian of records to be responsible, but all those department heads and employees who actually hold the records. What the custodian has to do is to document when she does not receive the records sought, and in case of a complaint, point her finger at the responsible party. The problem is, in Orange, that no custodian so far have ever pointed a finger to the responsible department heads or employees. You asked the question, maybe rhetorically, what you could do. Here is the answer. You, meaning the council, has to direct your employee, the Deputy City Clerk, to disclose honestly who is not providing the record. Not only will you make everything more open, but it is your fiduciary responsibility. Because if a person is found to knowingly and willfully prevent the release of records to the public, he or she can be fined $1,000 first time, $2,500 the second time, and $5,000 the third time. I am fairly confident that this kind of refusal will stop cold in its tracks as soon as an explanation, I might add, that civil penalties come out of the pocket of the person who is penalized. The penalty cannot be transferred to the city.
Ms. Gordon, that's your 10 minutes. And
Can I finish? I have two sentences
yes,
to go.
Yes.
On the second problem, as I have explained to you in the letter I have that I sent to you, I have legal proceedings going on with the Government Record Council at the city. Documents, parts of the proceeding, which were in the clerk's office a few years ago, are not located now. I think my letter has described the background clearly enough, therefore I don't want to waste time to describe it again. Let me just say that if you continue to turn a blind eye to this problem, I am prepared to sue the council. I also think that other residents of the city should be uneasy to know that legal records are disappearing from the city archives. What does that tell us about the value of the clerk's office? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Gloria Stewart, resident of Orange. First, I would like to say the arrangements of the chairs are kind of strange. It makes it difficult to move. I thought it was supposed to be a little more spacing on the side. Just food for thought. I want to first say that I'm sorry that I missed Judge Stevens' presentation. I've always liked his connection with the city. So I'm sure that it's worthy of his presence, even though I wasn't here. I want to just pinpoint these resolutions, 297 -2014, 298 2014 and 300 dash. I just want some insight on it. So put a pin right there. I want to give a positive note on, I think it was one day last week, we had a very nice presentation by the Orange Fire Department. Captain Spearman leading the presentation, so it was very well received by our students. It was started off with pre-K through, I think it was the 3rd grade, but it was very nice. We look forward to that annually. Although we didn't get the full impact, you know, with the demonstrations, but what they did, it kept the students engaged. So I wanted to publicly thank the fire department for that. To move on, I heard the council woman Summers Johnson, I'll get it right. She didn't have anything to say, a report on the library, but I just wanted to add, and hopefully when we meet again that we will have an update, that it looks very, not just sort of dead looking. I know it's, you can't really tell whether it's open or not. And I think most of the times I see a closed sign up there. So I'm hoping that we can get that grant matched so we can move forward. We don't need to lose it. And I think it's the 2016, we have until to get it matched. But we shouldn't even have to wait that long. And then as I ride on Central Avenue and I see the beauty of the baseball field, whatever you want to call it, I think we need that for our library. If we can put that much effort into our library. I want to just say about it's some lights out on Oakwood Avenue. I spoke with the president of the council. It's very, very bad. The parking lot across from Oakwood Avenue School is like pitch black. Also, when you're coming Freeway Drive East, right on the corner of Parole, it's really dark. And I don't know if that has anything to do with remember the light being out, if they didn't ever replace it back. So we need to work on that like yesterday, I think, because it leaves room for things that we don't need in terms of violence or whatever. So I'm hoping that we can get on that right away. I want to, I guess, sort of touch base with something that I'm always asking about. I see Marty has moved again on me. He's not in the BAC, so I don't know what he's not.
I'm going to interrupt you just so everybody knows. I meant to say that early in the meeting. The mic at that seat is not working. You could not move another mic from its place to that place, okay, so that Director Mays could be able to respond. I just asked him to sit here today. Okay. They are working on getting that mic replaced. Okay, I'm so just asking. I want okay. And I guess in that same vein, it leads me to ask the question: when are we going to get our BA? And I know you've legally told me why, so I'm still going to continue to ask because I think that's very much needed. And then I'm also asking, when the business of the city, how is that moved now? Who signs off on your bills? Who signs off on the things that a regular BA would do? And I'm wondering, who do you have acting as a BA? Is there a person who signs off on these bills or whatever? And I guess I've been sort of checking things out. There's a deputy BA. So if you have a deputy BA, I'd like to know the qualifications. Are they the same as the BA? What, and if that's the case, he signs off, why isn't that person sitting in that seat that should be occupied by a BA? And so those are the answers that I'm going to keep driving home. And that other one, I don't know if the mayor sees it, I think he should be present. And his seat up there. And I understand that, Mario, you're just doing it for the reason now. But he needs to be present to respond to some of the concerns that residents might have. And I get to one of my favorite, the financial director.
My concern is, and I'm going to say it again, is there a conflict with him being the mayor of Plainfield and our financial director? Does it also show that Orange is parallel or running the same as Plainfield? Because I know if I'm in one position and I'm working in another town, there might be some similarities in the running of the two cities. So we need to look at that, even if it's in the finances, the answering of questions. Would you do your city that way as the chief person? Do you respond that way being the mayor of a city? But as a financial director here, you understand where I'm coming from? I have some concerns about that, and I hope he's not taking it personal. But I think that needs to be dealt with. And then if he's the mayor of his city, I'm sure he has a BA. You understand where I'm coming from? So how does that play into what we're having, the shortage that we're dealing with? And I know that's not his doing as it relates to his city running with a BA, and we don't have one, and the financial director. So those are things that our city council need to answer or get answers for too. And I think it's two more. The roads are still in Orange, are still like speed bumps. So we need to try to work on that and get that right. And then I want to go to the cameras. And that's going to be my last comment. I know you say on YouTube, and that's better than nothing, okay? But then there are those people who might not have access. There are those who might not have the knowledge to go to YouTube, wherein you could just, before you can just flip the switch on TV, and there you guys are. So I'm going to say this, as it relates to the person who's in charge of doing that with the television here. If he's not doing his job, then when you go through that bill list, that should be eliminated. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is the person that you have doing the YouTube for the presentation of YouTube, how much expense is that? Would it come out of? And I don't want you to give me the numbers, but I know there's an expense. And then the other thing I want to know, if this person is doing the YouTube, is it possible for him to maybe bring it on as a television, to the TV? Because I know technology is really, really, swift and savvy, whatever you want to call it. So I just want to know if you can use that same technology, put it back on the TV. And the other thing, and I think I sort of asked before, was the school worked sort of hand in hand with that, like Channel 35. So you're hurting two entities. You're hurting the city council, the business, as well as the school. A lot of parents depend on that connection, like it's a half day or what's going on, when they could just flip the script and find out what's going on. Now, I'm going to leave that alone, and hopefully when I come back the next time, we will have some answers for that. So I asked you about the resolution. One of them just kind of.
We're going to answer the questions.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have two are point 298, 297, 298 are appointments. 300 is a grant, canceling and appropriate balances. So we'll respond to your questions.
Okay, but then I won't be able to get to say a reaction to the one that I'm really concerned, the Motley situation. That appointment and the housing authority. I know it's in my neighborhood. They are building and they're getting ready to do some more. What conflict will it be if he gets this appointment? And I think he has something to do with the water meters. If I'm thinking of the same person, that's a different person.
This is a citizen. That's Mobley.
Okay, Mobley and Motley, two different people.
Yes.
See, if I hadn't asked, then I would have been looking at the M's.
Okay.
So
but you could put a question, is there the two same people? So
yes. Okay, so that's what, and then how will that person, when it comes to the housing authority?
I'll explain.
You explain it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Is there a motion to close?
Move.
Moved by Councilman
Second.
Corbett, second by Councilwoman
Summers
Summers Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Citizen comments are closed. We're going to go to the question. And I'm gonna go backwards and I'll put the questions and the appropriate person will answer. Regarding the lights out, they have, in front of the school, it has been reported to public service and to Superintendent Lee because two lights are the responsibility of public service. One is the responsibility of the school, the board, the school, which is in the parking lot. That was reported to Superintendent Lee on election day. Director Mays and public service, I know, is a little bit, you have to give the report and it goes to different. Can you follow up on that tomorrow?
Yeah.
As well as now an additional, specifically the area that was out and that area is darker than it normally would be. So if you can
Right.
follow up on that.
I just want to say also on the lights, I got the same complaint, or it was brought to my attention from Councilwoman Summers, and that's the same scenario where certain lights are PSEG, certain lights are the schools. And then overall, I just want to add that we go around every year at different times and check the lights. We always do the lights when daylight saving time changes. So we just completed the city in totality. So you should see those lights coming back on. So we did every street, and that was just finished yesterday. So we do that every year. I just wanted to add that. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay. And backwards, the videotaping, who and the cost. I do not have the invoice before me. During the budget season, this is not the first year the council has addressed Channel 35. Funds were reallocated to the clerk council department from another department because those services would not be rendered. Since October 21st, the gentleman, Matt, and I don't have his last name before me, I apologize, has been videotaping and putting it on YouTube all of the questions that you explored asked in terms of, can we directly go to 35? Can we do all that? That's still a work to see how, when, where. So it's all new because it's just starting. The invoices I don't have before me, but they are in the clerk's office. And also, for those who may not have access, there are, every meeting, I did not, DVDs in the clerk's office as well. And there has not been ordinance to set forth a cost, so this council will update the recording and the cost of the DVDs. But right now, through open request, you can request the cost and we will deal with that. The roads, Director Mays?
The roads we're working on, I have a meeting coming up again with our representative from PSE&G regarding the condition of the work that was done on Main Street. I'm putting the final touches on a new ordinance that will drastically improve our road openings around the city. You'll see that at the next council meeting or the one after that. So that's where we are. Again, in terms of paving, we're repaving our last street for the winter, which will be Fuller Terrace.
Thank you. The question regarding the deputy VA, it's a matter of dispute. It will not be answered. Regarding an acting BA, there is no acting BA at this time. In the absence of a BA, Director Mays or Director Matt, can you answer who signs off on various items in the absence of a BA for the City of Orange? And Mr. Matt, while you were here, come on. While you were here, I'm going to ask the questions, and your answer, will be your answer. I'm going to ask the follow-up questions that were asked as well. So in the absence of a BA, who signs off?
The Deputy Business Administrator, Mr. Willis Edwards.
Thank you. Being a director of finance and a mayor of a city, is there any conflict if you want to reserve to Attorney Smith, or if you want to answer it, or,
I'll answer.
yes, sir.
There's as much a conflict as Councilor Summers Johnson working at her
No,
job.
I didn't give a name. I just said, is there a?
I'm answering the
Okay,
question.
but no, let me clarify. I did not say, Mr. Mapp, is there a conflict for you? I said, is there a conflict for a director of finance to be a mayor of a city? And in your response, I would appreciate if you would be general as well.
It is as much a conflict as a council person working for a board of education.
Okay.
As much as a conflict for a council president working for some other entity.
Okay.
And you know, there's some members of the public, I've heard comments from time to time, who would probably want all of you to give up your jobs and work full-time as members of the governing body. The public has a right to that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with it.
And also for the record, I will reiterate that Ms. Stewart has asked on several occasions, and she is reiterating that request again, that Mayor Warren is present. Thank you. I'll come back, Director Matt, if there are further questions for you, but not at this time. But I will put a footnote on here that although the request has been made for this council to possibly be here 40 hours, even though we're not required to be here 40 hours, council members, and I can attest, and if you did the record keeping on the meetings, are here more than they are statutorily as the guidelines say. So that's, I don't want to, you know, that you just see council members here on the first and third Tuesday. It's been much more than that. We have heard, Ms. Stewart, your recommendation regarding improving the library. Councilwoman, as the improvement went to on the baseball field central, so if you note that, and also your report. I also, Ms. Stewart, I know there was some conflict. You know, you said as nice as the baseball field at Central was, we can do the same to the library.
As
so,
inviting.
as inviting.
As bright.
As
and
bright.
As inviting.
And bright and inviting. And I will say, Councilwoman Summers Johnson have actually, probably other than today, given very detailed reports, and I believe they are available. If you have not gotten them,
She got them, but this one, it's just, I don't know, with us being on a Monday, I wasn't able to get the information because they usually email me any updated, and I didn't want to just give you just anything.
For our legislative research officer. And just so, as a matter of record, that we all can be informed. Regarding the Sunshine Law, and this question always comes up, can 7 council members go eat together? Can we be in the room? So if you can give a very layman's response at the next council meeting, for instance, hypothetically, if one council member sponsors a meeting, what should be the process or of other council members attending? And I think that goes for pretty much every legislative body, because the Sunshine Law just doesn't affect the city of Orange. So you can give a very general how we can conduct ourselves and how that applies to legislative bodies or elected officials who fall under the Sunshine Law, and appointed, whomever falls under the Sunshine Law. Regarding 297 and 298, they are appointments, although they both deal with the Housing Authority, they are very different appointments. There are 2 boards. There's the Board of Commissioners for the Orange Housing Authority, and there is the Board for the Orange Development Corporation. One appointment, 297, is for the Orange Housing Authority, and the second is for the Orange Development Corporation. The council interviewed both people who are on here to be voted on, and now they are moving on to a vote. And the interview is an executive session, so you will not see an interview in person, but the interviews happen, and based on the interviews, they are on the agenda to be appointed to those boards. But again, it's the Orange Housing Authority and the Orange Development Corp. So they're very different, they're two different boards. And if, when they come up on the motion, Councilwoman Easton's actually appointment is 297, and the City Council is is the full governing body of the City Council, 298. 300, 2014, Director Matt? Or Ms. Lascari, whoever, I'm sorry,
Can you repeat the question?
300, 2014, can you explain the reason for resolution 300, 214?
That pertains to the grant, is that correct?
To cancel all grant receivable appropriation balances.
Yeah, we have on the books numerous grants that date back over an umpteenth number of years. And these grants have been audit comments for a number of years as well. And basically, for the most part, grants were received by the city, funds were spent against grants, the reimbursements were not requested from the granting agencies. And so we have a number of grants on the books that we can't recoup. Monies were spent against these grants. And so we find ourselves having grant receivables and grant appropriations, and it makes no sense for us to continue to carry these items on the books because we are not ever going to be able to recover these funds. So it makes sense that we would clean our books by using one side of the ledger to offset the other, and that's basically what we're doing. And by so doing, we will be moving to a point where our house will be in order as far as our grants management is concerned. And we would hope to see this audit comment go away as a result of the work that we are doing to clean up these grants. Many of them are over 10, 12, 15 years old.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Regarding the presentation by Judge Stevens from the Surrogate's Office gives an annual report to all municipalities. Today he did to the City of Orange. In closing, if any member of the public had further comments, questions, he's available in his office, and he left his number if you have to call, and that number was 973-621-4900. Again, 973-621-4900. And finally, regarding the chairs, it's a result simply of the videotaping and make sure the video has a great view of what's going on. Director Mays, if we could just work with the clerk's office to, now that they know that's here, to kind of get a better seating from Public Works.
That was the result of Saturday, those chairs.
But also because of that as well.
That's where they put them back on Saturday.
Okay. Moving up to Resolution 299-2014, Director Mays, why terminate this contract now?
Right, 299, 2014 is a termination of a contract that was awarded to a engineering firm to disconnect the transmission water main. And I guess Mrs. Gordon really didn't understand this. What it is they were hired to disconnect it on an emergency basis prior to one of the pipes busting. When the pipe busted, that necessitated a need for an immediate emergency disconnect, and all of that is stated clearly in the resolution. And I want to say for the record, I really do take exception for Mrs. Gordon trying to draw any parallels or any linkages to this resolution to a failed project of a previous administration. I think that's very dangerous for her to do that. But this resolution here is prudent. It's the right thing to do. The work was done by another firm, And that's really all I can say about it.
And can you, and Director Mays, if not, Director Matt, can you speak to, if you had to terminate the contract, why was the $2,000 paid?
The $2,000 was paid because if you read in the first paragraph, it says for design and construction management. Primarily, the money was for design. In other words, it was not an immediate situation. The immediacy came when the pipe burst, and that warranted immediate action. That's the difference. The first contract went to a firm that was working on the situation. We knew it was a problem. We foresaw that it was a problem. Once the pipe bursted, that took it to another level. So they were actually working, so they should be paid for the work that they did.
293/2014.
Yes. 293.
Let me just let the attorney speak to this. Attorney Smith, in this, on 293/2014, there's no deadline, and if you, on the contract?
I can answer that.
Do you want to defer to Director Mays?
Sure.
Director Mays?
293/2014, there is no deadline. It's absurd to say that there should be a deadline because this is a paving job, and as we all know, paving is centered upon the weather. We are no different than any other municipality. This work is being done in advance of the spring. The work will be designed and be prepared once the weather breaks for it to go out and for the job to start. Again, this is a paving job which is dependent upon the weather. Any professional that deals with paving will tell you that the best time to pave is in the months of July and August, where you'll get the most optimal effect out of paving. However, we all know that we have several paving jobs that go up until Thanksgiving or November, and that's exactly what we're doing here in the city of Orange. We have a job that's being done now. As long as it's 40 degrees ambient, you can do that. So you can't base a paving job on a time frame when the work is weather dependent.
And Director Mays, to elaborate, I know there's been some discussion in terms of once construction is started and to rein the construction time once it started, would it apply to this contract? Would it apply to this resolution?
It wouldn't apply to this resolution because the work is going to be designed, bid out, it's going to be ready to go once the weather breaks. You can't pave when it's below 40 degrees. It's very simple, and it's the right thing, and it's very prudent.
Director Mays, regarding the Public Works meeting and no access, were you aware of that?
Yeah, I was aware of that. I worked with the Public Works Committee in terms of time. I put in just as much time,
No,
maybe more time than any other director here. I have a family, I have a life. I tried to accommodate the Public Works Committee by moving several of the dates and not having it on the same date, only to accommodate the Public Works members, not myself. But if there's a problem, we'll go back to the third Thursday of every month, and that's it.
And
That was the situation.
Okay, Director Mays, what I will add, if you're not here, they can go ahead and meet, and we can let the clerk's
Absolutely.
office, and we can let the clerk's office, so it's incumbent upon the committee to let the clerk's office know as well, so that in the absence of Director Mays, that there will be arrangement for the door to be open. Director Matt, are we still under contract with Millennium?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge.
Do you have a recent grant report?
Yes, and it was provided with the October financial reports that were submitted this morning.
Can you give a summary of, do you have it with you, or can you give us?
No, I do not. I can only tell you that it's a listing of several grants that they have been working on, and it's ongoing. The report is self-explanatory. I don't have it in my mind
So it's
right
in the
now.
clerk's office and it can be, it's available
Yes,
tomorrow.
it's like a one
Okay.
or 2 page report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council President, I'd like to comment on that $3 million. Mrs. Gordon has never given me any information.
Are you talking about the?
I'm talking about, she mentioned that there was, Newark received $3 million in grants for water. That's how we got on this subject. I see Miss Gordon around City Hall. I've gone out with Miss Gordon, walked streets in the city. She's never brought that to my attention in writing or verbally, and that's what she needs to do if she wants some follow-up. In lieu of that, I can't help her. I can't give any information. I can't forward it on to anybody else or do anything about it. If she has that information, she needs to present it verbally or in writing. I prefer in writing, giving some of the tactics that she likes to utilize in giving her comments to the council.
And regarding, and Mr. Mobley's not here, but Director Mapp, tomorrow, if you can see if the, you know, ask Mr. Mobley if he could simply research if the grant they received is something that we could have even applied for, and or, you know, if it's something, if it's apples to apples.
I'll speak to Mr. Mobley, and I'll also ask that
Millennium as well, I'm sorry.
something be mentioned to the grant consultant.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Gordon, regarding the Oprah request, at the next meeting, we'll have a report. The council has received a GRC info page, as well, with a highlight of all the pending cases and cases that have been determined. I am talking to the law office about those cases and the specific cases, so a general report based on all of those pending cases and determined cases, and that have been determined, that are on the GRC website. There are several, most recently from you, and we will have a report for you at the next council meeting. I'm sorry, December 2nd. I gave it the wrong date.
And the material that disappeared.
I got you. We will have a report for you on December 2nd. I'll see that general comments. Director Mapp, regarding the question that former Councilman Lewis asked in regard to salaries being paid to the YWCA, do you have a response?
Can you be more specific with that?
Oh, and you can come back at, maybe perhaps during council comments, or Mr. Scary, if you have a response, but if you looked in the payroll analysis that was given at the budget review on November 13th, you'll see the payroll report 930 reflecting salaries to employees of the YWCA. It has a section for YWCA. And the amount given was approximately $20,000, $21,000. Why would that be a part of our payroll report? And if you want to review it and come back.
No, I can respond.
Okay.
I don't agree with the way that was handled, and I have actually.
When you say what was handled, I'm sorry.
With the fact that payroll was processed for employees of that other entity. I have directed that we send a bill to that entity to recover those funds.
Okay.
As I've stated, not everything I agree with.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. Okay. That would go over all of our questions, and we will go right into citizens' comments. I'm sorry, we'll go right into council comments.
I was about to say, I thought we
I'm sorry. And before we go into council comments, Mr. Matt, our videographer has, and YouTuber has just corrected me. The correct name for the YouTube channel is the City of Orange Township, New Jersey Council Meetings, and it has the the City of Orange seal. So you can follow, and it has probably 3 or 4 meetings under there. Thank you, Mr. Matt. Councilman Corbett.
The reason I attended the event that Councilwoman Jamie Summers Johnson held at Haywood Avenue School was simply for support to a fellow council person. Mr. Mays, last council meeting I asked a question as it surrounds the time machines in the hallways. Do you have a response?
I don't have a response to that. I don't know if Mr. Mapp has a response to that.
State your question.
Sure. The question is, we've had a lot of people, not just staff employees, but others in management who apparently have no-show jobs. And so, will the management be following suit with the staff and registering in when they enter and leave the building?
Councilor Corbett, I can tell you that the administration will be having a policy pertaining to the time and attendance system that will be implemented hopefully sometime very soon.
Because of my understanding that equipment is also supposed to help us better track sick time and vacation time.
You're absolutely correct.
And so that would apply to pretty much everybody within City Hall.
I think there are great benefits to having the system.
Absolutely, and the only way we can take advantage of it is if everybody uses it.
The time for everyone, sick time, vacation time, will definitely be tracked through the system.
So when is it anticipated that will go into effect? Will it start the first of the year, prior to the end of this year?
We were hoping that it would have started October 1st, but we've been coming through some delays, so we are still hoping to have it started before the end of the year.
Okay, so I guess at this point there's nothing for us to do but just sit and wait for the memo to come out outlining who does what and when, where, and how.
You will be informed.
Thank you. Finally, we're doing great with the time. I'm really liking it. But just for your information, the championship round of the Local Talk Public Speaking Contest for Essex County is this Saturday from 11 to 3 at Bella Italia Restaurant. And I do believe that we have 3 students from Orange High School competing for that cash prize. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Corbett. Councilwoman Easton?
First, I would like to make 2 announcements. Bethel Baptist Church at 229 Wallace Street will be holding their Thanksgiving dinner this Saturday. So if you know anybody that wants to get a hot meal, send them to Bethel Baptist Church. They have plenty of food. They would even allow them to take food home. So
You have a time, Councilwoman?
I don't have the time. I think she said, huh?
I thought you just said 2 o'clock.
No, I didn't say. I think she said around 12 or something like that.
Okay.
But St. Matthew's will hold their Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving Day. You remember the time? So,
If not, she could say it in her comments.
Brother Johnson, you remember the time?
They could say it in their comments, Councilwoman Easton. They'll do it in their comments. They'll pick. No. Go continue your comments.
Thanksgiving dinner.
At council, and I think it
I'll
runs
be
the
at
same
the
time as
firehouse.
fire department.
Huh?
I'll be at the firehouse.
We will, Councilman Easton.
That's my answer.
Okay.
But
2 o'clock, okay.
but St. Matthew's will be holding theirs Thanksgiving Day. I think they're starting at 12. And one of the other things I wanted to say, based on some years ago, we had the same question about council members attending meetings and 4 or 5 of us showed up at the same meeting. And the legal answer was, and Attorney Smith is going to, and Attorney Harris is going to confirm this, that as long as we are not conducting business and talking about any business that's due to the city as a group, we can attend meetings. All 7 of us can show up. Huh? Events. All 7 of us can attend the events. And that's not a violation of the Sunshine Law. So I don't know where former Councilman Bill Lewis is getting his information, but we can go sit in the audience just like everybody else. We're all taxpayers. So that's not a violation. A little while ago, Mr. Mapp, can I ask Mr. Mapp? You remember about a month or so ago, maybe longer, I don't know how many, I was in your office questioning why there was people from the Y on the city's payroll.
I remember it
We
very
checked
well.
one specific person and we found out they were,
Yep. And that's the first time I became aware of it, yes.
but you continued to pay them even after I brought it to your attention.
Counselor?
What, I'm sorry.
I didn't say any names. I'm just asking a general question.
Wait, Attorney Smith, please direct, if you want to, you have to talk into the mic.
But I didn't call any names.
Stepping into a rice-sensitive area.
I didn't
No,
call any names.
there was just a note on if the budget report that $20,000 was paid to the YWCA salaries. And Councilwoman Easton, your question again? Just
No. I
no,
said
your
yet-
question.
Yet those, was in his office questioning the same thing that, who just asked that question? Councilman Corbett? Or
No,
was it you?
it was a resident, former Councilman Bill
But
Lewis.
I questioned that some months ago. And he agreed, I was there, asking the question.
I still agree.
That's right, and so I don't know how we got to that. And when the attorney was here the other night for the trustee, he
Councilwoman Easton,
also alluded to
that's an
that.
executive session, so just,
So I'm saying, if you were aware of it months ago, why is that question arising tonight? 'Cause shouldn't it have stopped at that time?
That question assumes that I can stop anybody from being paid.
That being said, I'm going to move on.
thank you, Cathedral
Um,
Matt.
The other question I had, we have a gentleman here videotaping. Is there a purchase order so that he can get paid?
There are 5 purchase orders that have been rejected by the administration that we will have a meeting about and discuss. So they have been submitted and they have been rejected by the, administration.
So I guess my question is, if they don't agree to pay him, how are we gonna pay him?
We'll have a meeting about it to discuss it.
Okay. And with that, I am done.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson?
Age before beauty, right? You skipping me over this, okay. Council President, thanks for calling on me. I do want to bring up on this resolution 299, 2014 again. Resolutions of these natures, I think we should have somebody from the water company, or Mr. Mobley or somebody. These resolutions are so bland that you have to question this stuff with the documents that are attached, but the general public doesn't have that information. And people should reserve the right to ask questions and not be offended or intimidated that they may not be asking the right question, although there may be some other things wrong with it. This company that got awarded this contract,
That is, they're asking to award or the previous?
no, the company that they're talking about they're going to cancel got awarded a contract, and it references 47/2014 was the resolution. Now, this description as far as transmission of water main, it mirrors both resolutions. But the paperwork from the company talks about resolving issue with valves and the stopping of water leaking from valves, not a specific water main break. And that was the emergency that arise from it. I mean, if I'm reading the documents wrong, from December 2013 from this PS&S company. However, due to very old age and poor condition, the valves developed a leak. This leak is progressively worse as time passes. Currently, from conversations with the operator of the Orange Water System, United Water, we estimate that an average of 250,000 gallons of water per day, 250,000 gallons per day, or 180,000 to 210 gallons per minute is being lost from this leak. To compare this, in the summer of 2012, the leak was about 50,000 gallons a day. As such, it is imperative to disconnect the old plant from the raw water treatment main as soon as possible before the leak worsens any further. Now, did this company win the bid based on that verbiage in their contract or their letter to the Public Works? Because the resolution is talking about a water main break. I'm totally confused now.
Director Mays?
Yes, the verbiage in that paperwork which is attached is absolutely correct. It states exactly what happens. I believe before Councilman Johnson became a council person, some of the other sitting council members went and saw the leak. The leak of the valves at that time was the primary issue for wanting to disconnect the old filter plant from the new filter plant. I know for a fact that Councilwoman Gaunt Butler did see the water that was leaking, so that was absolutely the situation. I think the resolution is very clear because that was an emergency situation. If you look at the resolution and go further down with the busting of the pipes in another part of the filter plant, it became an immediate emergent situation. And I think the resolution is very clear, and it spells it out very clear in my mind. Again, I don't really know what else to say about it. What happened is actually on paper, not only in the resolution and in the supporting documentation. And I do agree with Councilman Johnson. If you don't deal with this type of situation, it is very difficult to understand. And that's exactly why when we write these resolutions and we attach documents to the resolutions, that we try to make it as clear as possible. And I'm not against anybody asking any questions of me for me to answer, but I am not going to allow anybody to ask a question and try to link this situation or any situation to another situation that I had absolutely nothing to do with when I wasn't working here. So that's my problem with the question that Ms. Gordon asked. I didn't appreciate that, and I noted on the record.
Council President, thank you, Director Mays, but I didn't want you to get into a tangent where you were actually trying to correct somebody in the audience. I was asking you the question about what I'm reading. Now, if in fact those people wrote that letter to you, the water company, back in December of 2013, we already talked about the number of gallons of water is being lost. They didn't get a contract until February 2014, and this very same company had to get kicked off the job because they weren't doing anything, and everything back in December was an emergency. I think that's what arises. Why was there a drop in the ball for a professional company to get in here and do what we asked them to do before we had to go expel them and hire another company to clean up behind them? I think that's what everybody is. I know I'm a little angst about. The problem was existing back in 2013.
The problem was existing probably back in 2012 probably dates back to 2011 and maybe even longer than that. I think what this resolution shows is that the people that worked on this were diligent. This is something that we were pushing to get done, just like other situations that we had. We took action. Nobody sat back. Nobody dropped the ball. The situation as it stands today, in both the valves and the disconnection of the water plant, is done. So this is the next necessary step to pass this resolution, and I don't know what else to say. I think this, again, is the right thing to do. The situation no longer exists because somebody took action. Again, going back with the whole SCAFAR and this whole filter plant, I'm just saying, I want to answer this question.
But Director Mays, just stay on this. He did not.
The situation is resolved. The plan has been disconnected. There's no more leaking. There's no gallons. We're not losing water. The situation is resolved. This is the next prudent step to cancel their contract.
Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, and that's what I wanted to hear. I mean, because we don't get these timely reports from Mr. Mobley or whoever he's connected to in water. You don't know if some of this stuff is actually really done because nobody comes back and reports on it, or at least I've missed out on those follow-up meetings. Secondly, Council President, can I speak on this?
Yes.
In this report we received, Council President, I just want somebody to explain to me this money that we owe in insurance. Can we have Mr. Mapp address that, please?
So the projected budget shortfall in employee group health prescription, Mr.
Correct.
The administration intends to review this report in its entirety, and the Deputy Business Administrator and myself will present a response to you at the next meeting. However, I can tell you that that was called to my attention late this afternoon, and I looked at those numbers, and they don't make any sense at all to me. So much so that I have immediately reached out to the prescription company. The numbers just don't make sense. If I take the $1.1 million that was presented in the report and the actual for 2013, the projected number doesn't make sense to me. So I don't have an answer for you at this point in time. I am concerned about what that report communicates to the governing body. So we're going to do our due diligence, and we're going to come back to you with an answer that makes sense.
And Director Matt, and I'm sorry, I just want you to know that we have asked the state health benefit plans to come for matters of discussion. As I go to say that, I don't realize Express Scripts may or may not, but a request has been put into the state health benefits plan to see if they can be present for matters of discussion at the next council meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Council President, was this data that the budget council, was the data that they got, was it from the city or
Yes.
something they made up themselves to come up with this?
They received information from the city. I think it states it in the record, in the introduction letter. It does state it, so it was received from the city.
Okay, and Mr. Mapp is saying he's not aware of the data that they used to calculate that.
Director Mapp?
I'm saying that the report that you have, and I looked at it briefly, the section that pertains to the prescription, and I saw where the average monthly bill was $92,005 times 12 for about $1 million. And it is being projected.
For everybody, Director Mapp talking off the top, he's talking about
Right.
Schedule B.
Yeah. It is being projected that the year ending December 31st would see an actual of about $2.4 million. Now that's well over 100% increase in prescription premiums. It is difficult for me to accept that And so we are doing our due diligence to investigate and to find out what has caused that. If we assume those numbers to be incorrect, and accountants do projections all the time, and this accountant is one that I respect very highly. So we're going to do our due diligence to find out what is really happening in terms of the numbers that you were presented.
Council President, one more question to Mr. Mapp. Since I was a newly elected council official and came on board in July, if you can remember, in I think it may have been my first or second finance committee meeting, where we actually brought up the notion of who's policing and watching over the insurance policies, whether or not brokers are being matched for competitiveness and anything. At that particular point, in no time did we were indicated that the city was underwater and not being able to fund in the 2014 budget what was required to pay for prescription.
And I can say to you, Counselor, that at this point in time, I am still not aware of any factual information to support the projected $2.4 million. It just doesn't make any sense to me that we paid $1 million approximately in 2013, and it's being projected that we would need to pay $2.4 million to cover our prescription costs. And that's why we're going to investigate. I've started that process already because I want, like you, to get to the bottom of this.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Mr. Mapp.
Councilwoman Gordon Butler.
Thank you, Council President. Just a couple of quick comments. I'll start with the highlights. I wanted to go on record and congratulate Director Sims. He did receive a Community Service Award from the Giblin Association, as Mr. Lewis indicated, and he represented the community well. And I know he's done long-term service for the community of Orange, fighting for those that can't fight for themselves. So congratulations to him. I also wanted to go on record thanking the Fire Department and the Office of Emergency Management. As Councilwoman Eason stated, they do so much for the community, especially victims after fire has occurred. And so I wanted to just go on record and thank them for all that they do as well. Something that I thought was very interesting, and something that we should also be very proud of, is at the Giblin Association, they recognized elected officials. And it was nice to see Captain Suey come up as an elected official. He is newly elected as the Honorable Mayor of Bernardsville. So that was nice to see as well. Other things that I wanted to talk about very briefly were St. Matthew had its 72nd anniversary celebration yesterday, and it was absolutely outstanding. If you weren't there, you missed it, but Councilwoman Eason did encourage you to come. And so it'll come around again next year, and I encourage everyone to join in the celebration. Again, I'm just going to make a very brief budgetary comment. Councilman Johnson has already spoken to it. The report we received from our budget consultant was very disappointing, to say the least. And I'm trying to figure out why we have a budget process, and why do we approve and authorize a budget if we don't stick to the budget, which is our spending plan. And so that is my lead-in to ask Mr. Mapp, where are we in the budget process for this year? For next year? Well, for 2015.
The budget process for 2014 is ongoing. We have gotten information from some departments. There's still a couple that are tardy, but we have met and we have told them in uncertain terms that if you don't get your budgets to us, we will set your budgets for you. So the process is underway.
Okay. You can stay right there. I have another question. Corrective action plan. The last time I asked you about it, you said you were waiting for the auditor's report. You now have that. So has that yielded any net effects?
You should know that the corrective action plan, which you made a comment at the last meeting, and I don't think that you were aware that the corrective action plan was indeed presented at the last meeting in detail. listing each comment from the auditor and the corrective plan that is being put in place by the administration.
Okay, so now I was not at the last council meeting. I was not at the last council meeting.
You made a comment, I believe, he wasn't.
The one prior to that? Is
Yeah,
that what
the
you're
one,
talking about?
yes, yes. Not the special meeting from last week.
No. The last council meeting I was not at. I was out of town.
Wow. I'm referring to the last meeting where we had
an
a
exchange.
similar exchange.
Okay, so again, when you talk about that, and I know we always talk about, there's a couple of things we talk about. So one, we talk about the the corrective action plan. And I always say that it seems to me to be a cursory response. It doesn't seem to have any real value or weight carried with it, because I never see that I see that the next year we're addressing the same concerns. So that's one issue for me. The other issue has to do with the capital improvements. You know, I always say that we need to be doing things, budgeting and purchasing things on an incremental basis, and not purchasing everything at once and getting ourselves into a bond situation. Again, you always remind me that that is always submitted with the budget, but it's never funded. So it never happens. And so my question is, I'm looking for the results of those things and not just checking things off of a list. That's my question, that's my concern. I'm not sure you can address that, but if you can, I'm listening.
There are two things that I like to respond to. One, the audit comments. I think that you should collect from the clerk's office a trend analysis that I did pertaining to audit comments, where over the last 4 or so years, the audit comments went from about 50 down to 21. So we are improving every year by reducing the number of comments, and we will continue to do that. So I want to make it very clear that we've made significant progress in correcting a number of the deficiencies that were identified year after year in the audit. And so, are we where we need to be? Absolutely not. But have we made great progress? Absolutely yes. And we will continue to work on that downward trend as far as the comments and the deficiencies. Number two, the capital plan. The capital plan is simply that, a plan. It is not an authorization to spend any money. The authorization to spend, and most of you know that we came to you for every month for almost 2 years to get the governing body to adopt capital ordinances. And those requests were rejected month after month after month. We went down to the local finance board after getting first reading approval on different capital ordinances. And there were some disagreements, and the governing body chose not to act. So we have presented capital ordinances, and we can only spend down against those ordinances that were adopted. And you adopted an ordinance about maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and the fire department and the police department, they are now able to purchase or to put orders out to acquire some of the capital items that the city needs, and needs badly.
Councilwoman Guambel, are you finished?
I am finished as far as those comments. I am. The other thing that I wanted to discuss, and I guess I want to discuss this briefly, is the clerk's office and the staffing of the clerk's office.
That's the executive session item.
Okay.
Unless you just have general thinking, I'm sorry.
No. I want to discuss the staffing of the clerk's office.
Okay.
So we can go into executive session for that. And the last thing that I really do want to discuss is the broadcasting again of council meetings. I am working in collaboration with others to try and ensure that that happens in a timely manner. But again, I'm very disappointed that that is not occurring. I did also want to discuss Resolution 295. My concern with this is twofold. I wanted to know if there were any forecast projections done on this to ensure that I guess it's going to benefit the city of Orange. That's one question. The other question I had was, who are the other contracting units with regards to this particular resolution? And my third question is, let me see if I have this right. It looks like this agreement became effective 1/31/2012. And so why are we voting on it now?
Director Mapp or Director Mays, who would that, or Mr. Scary, who would like to respond to 295? Do you have it before you?
Oh, I don't have a response.
Okay. A resolution authorizing the City of Orange Township to enter into a cooperative pricing system agreement with Middlesex Regional Education Service Commission pricing for the purchase of goods and service. Director Mays?
Hold on for a second.
Just a second. Attorney Smith, do you have anything? Oh, no, you ready?
I'm gonna take a
Okay, go ahead, Director Mays.
take a stab at this one. This is, I believe, a co-op that we're trying to enter into so that we can utilize them to purchase a lot of the major trucks that we use during snow plowing. What happens in these cooperative service agreements like this, they already go out to bid, meaning that since they already went out to bid for each particular item, the city does not have to do that. I believe this cooperative system will allow us to purchase the large international snow trucks and vehicles without having to go out to bid. And I think when you refer to the 1/31/12 date, that's the date that this was approved as a co-op by the Division of Local Services, which is number 15 on page 4. It spells it out right there, what that date means.
Correct, and it says it's for a 5-year period, so the end date for this would be 2017?
17, yeah. So again, this gives us the ability to go after the international trucks without having to go out to bid because the co-op has already done that.
Any other contracting units? Do we know who they are?
I'm not sure about that question. I can get you the answer to that, but I'm not sure. Where do you see that at?
It's all through the document, but it begins right under on page 1, under the witness. 2 or more contracting, in that first sentence, specifically authorizes 2 or more contracting units to establish a cooperative pricing system for the provision and performance of goods.
I'm not sure. I can get the answer, but I can't answer that right now.
Attorney Smith? Can
Yes.
you respond to this regarding from a contractual standpoint?
Repeat that, please.
Can you return from the contractual standpoint under the witness date? What was your, can you repeat your question, Councilwoman Butler?
Yeah, I wanted to know who the other contracting units that were participating in this particular cooperative pricing system agreement. Do you know who they are?
I wouldn't have that information.
And I think that is all that I wanted to discuss. Yes, thank you, Council President.
Okay. Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Thank you. Let me just start by saying I haven't learned the art of complimenting someone and telling them they did everything wrong in the same breath and it's a skill I do not want to learn. I am thankful that the meetings are being taped. I was able to share them on my Facebook page today, and I also shared them on Councilman Coley's page, which I had to help him with electronics now. But just being honest, some things to me are just, I want to laugh because they don't make any sense. We're not on TV, so we as council people have to do whatever we need to do to bring the government to the people. So with that being said, I feel like Councilman Corbett now, because I remember it like it was yesterday when he decided to have the meeting in the Valley. I left the meeting full. I left the meeting with a lot of questions answered. And again, it is extremely hard to learn something if you know everything. And there's just no room to learn, if you know everything. So I'm thankful that I don't know everything, and I do learn something new every day. So residents, let me just paint the picture of how the meeting, because it wasn't, the way it was said was like there was no direction. As the residents walked in, they were greeted by the Girl Scouts of St. Matthew's Church, and they were having a bake sale. They walked in. The residents were given an info sheet where they could put their top 3 concerns, because I'm not understanding how I'm supposed to understand what the people need if I don't ask them and if they don't put it in writing so I can act on it. I was so thankful to have directors there because, again, residents wanted answers. Rather than me have to say, I'll get back to you, I'll get back to you, I'll get back to you, I was so happy that questions were answered immediately. At the conclusion of the meeting, residents were given leaf bags and they were given recyclable bins, which may not seem like much, but I received a lot of thank yous from it because it's just little things. You don't have a lot of power. You do what you can with what you have. The meeting was set up to establish a database because it's very important to be able to get to my residents immediately. The next day was the budget meeting, so with the email addresses that I received, I was able to email the residents, and that's why some of them were here. Otherwise, if it's on YouTube, you're not seeing it instantly. And again, we know everyone's not on YouTube, so it's just trying to reach people through email. I just spent yesterday, I think it was $160 on posters for my upcoming meetings because you have to just do so many things to get the word out. So some things, again, as a teacher, I can take criticism, but some things are just laughable. Anytime that you bring the community together, I'm gonna stand by. It's definitely a good thing. Next time I will reach out to the different crime watches. I will have it published in the Orange Transcript, continue with Facebook, Twitter, and all the other electronic ways. But, sometimes I think we just need to understand if you're not the council person, things are not going to be done just the way you would do it. But, again, I'll take constructive criticism, but bringing people together definitely is a good thing. And I'll end on that.
Thank you, Councilwoman Summer Johnson. Based on you purchasing items to go forward, that's a teacher in you. Teachers generally have to purchase many of their own supplies. Councilman Coley?
Thank you, Council President. I don't have many comments on. Councilwoman Butler kind of brought up one of my main issues. Where are we with the budget process? And Mr. Mapp, he gave the same comment at the last meeting that he's waiting for the directors to give him their budgets. How much more time are we going to wait for the directors of Mr. Mapp to give you the budget before you move forward and submit the budget?
Director Mapp?
We are a long ways from submitting a budget. So this is not about submitting the budget. This is about getting
the next step. The next step, I should say.
We are working on the budget. The administration is working diligently on the budget.
Okay, so at the last meeting, you said you were waiting for the directors to submit their budgets to you. So when is that cutoff? For you to say, directors, you have December 15th, you have November 30th before I submit your budgets. When is that cutoff?
That will not be a unilateral decision. That will be a decision that will be made by the administration as a whole.
Okay, so basically we could
In other words, by the deputy BA and by the mayor in consultation with me.
That I understand. So what I'm trying to say is that we can be in this holding pattern that we're in now until whenever.
I'm not sure what holding pattern you're talking about. The budget isn't due until next year, and we're doing our best
I understand that,
to give
but,
you a budget on time.
I'm talking about the process, moving it along. You know, just like moving the rock across the room. Like I said, 2 weeks ago, we was waiting on the directors to submit their budgets, and we still haven't gotten all the directors. And at this point in time, we don't even know the ones that submitted the budgets to you. So I don't even know if anyone submitted budgets to you to move that step along. But that's neither here or there. So we just wait, until we get that, and then we move on to the next steps. I'm going to be asking these questions every meeting about the next step.
But something happened under state health benefit plans that there was a period where everybody stopped using Express Scripts for whatever reason, and then they went in back over. So
I'm
I don't
not
know.
familiar with that.
Okay, so if you can just see when that year that was as well, when you respond to us.
The year that
It could have been this year or last year, but I know it was a recent where Express Scripts, they were not able to provide services under the current form, so there was a pullout and about a 2 or 3 month period, and then municipalities began to go back into Express Scripts. So I don't remember, but I remember it happened because it happened suddenly. Or
I'll see what I can
Okay.
find out, but I'm not familiar with that at all.
Thank you. And I was not at St. Matthew service, but I know it was great. I'm a fellow AME at St. James AME, but one thing I'm thankful for that St. Matthew has a beautiful tape ministry, and it's not tape anymore, it's a digital ministry, I guess we will call it, in 2014. From hearing how the service was brought forth for those who did not attend, please contact St. Matthew and you can go back and revisit the service in the private of your home car or wherever you choose to. The corrective action plan went before this governing body on October 21st, 2014, and that was the question I asked to Mr. Matt earlier. Even though we did not vote it in the affirmative, the administration still has a responsibility to follow through on the items they put on the corrective action plan, but it was an agenda item on October 21st, 2014. With that, we're going to move the agenda. We are now on the consent agenda. I'm sorry. I'm ready. We're going to ordinances. I apologize, Council. We're right to ordinance, second reading, and a public hearing. Ordinance 21-2014, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 200, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 200-52-1, Handicap Parking Spaces, 94 Park Street, East Side. This is a second reading. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard?
Gloria Stewart, resident of Orange. I guess my concern is you have 4 on this, and so I know you're, just to use the first one for why I'm here, is at what point will we, I mean, I know you're going to get the handicap parking spaces. Do we continue? At what point do we stop? Do you understand where I'm coming from? In terms of providing those parks, I could probably use one, but, you know, I'm just saying, at what point do we stop? What's the criteria for this? The handicap spot? I want, yeah, I would like a response, you know, because I see.
No, I'm just saying, I just want to make sure you're finished. Okay. Director Mays?
Right. There's a bunch of criteria. I don't have all the criteria in front of me. The reason that and you're going to see this over the next council meetings, the reason that you see 4 normally, it might be 1 or 2, or it might be none at all, is because for a period of about 6 months, or maybe shorter than 6 months, I say 3 or 4 months, the city was reviewing its policy on handicap parking spaces. So right now, there is a backlog, and these people need their spaces. So that's why probably for the next couple of council meetings, you'll see 3 or 4 on there. And from that review, actually, there's not a lot of handicap parking spaces in the city. It's about 35 spaces in totality. And this is a law, and if you meet the requirements of that law, you're entitled to get this.
Okay, but
Sure, let me just say, if this person leaves, does that handicap stay there, or?
No. Every 3 years, all the handicap spaces are reviewed, and if the person is deceased or leaves or no longer resides, then those spaces are taken back. And that's part of these same questions that you're asking me, is why we had the review, to see and to make sure that we were doing everything right. And then, and again, you know, you would think that you see 1 or 2 of these at every council meeting. There's only about 34, 35 in the city.
But I guess what I'm asking is that over a period of time, that's going to increase. You say you have such a backlog now. You now have 35, Orange being 2.2 square miles. And I'm just saying, in terms of the number growing, and I'm not knocking anybody, because I just recently had, maybe about a year ago, one on my street, which is a short street, and you can only basically park on one side. But I'm just saying it could become a growing concern. And I'm not knocking a person who needs a park, because God knows I could use one myself. I go home tonight, I might not have a park, even though I know the reason for having a handicap park space is different. I can also see it at a shopping mall or something like that, but now we're saying on the street. And I don't know if that's because we don't have the space for driveways or whatever, but I'm just, and I'm not knocking it, but it is a concern.
It is a concern, and that's part of why we did the review. But again, this is a law. If you meet these requirements, you're entitled to it by law. The city can't stop.
I understand that, and I respect that, but it still doesn't take away from the concern.
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to be heard? A motion to close. Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman
Yes.
Johnson. Councilwoman Gordon Butler.
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. Is there a motion to adopt on final reading? Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gordon Butler.
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. The ordinance does pass. Moving to 22-2014. An ordinance to amend the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 200, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 252-1, Handicap Parking Spaces, 351 Berryman Place, the West Side. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard?
Motion to close.
Motion to close by
Second.
Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler,
In favor.
and I am in favor as well.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler,
In favor.
and I am in favor as well. The ordinance 22-2014 does pass. Moving to ordinance on second reading 23-2014, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 200, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 200-52-1, Handicap Parking Spaces, 28-30 Prince Street, the West Side. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard?
Motion to close.
Motion to
Second.
close by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler,
In favor.
and I am in favor as well.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to
Second.
adopt and final, sorry, Councilman Corbett is adopt, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley,
In favor?
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler,
In favor.
and I am in favor as well. Ordinance does pass. Ordinance on introduction, first reading. Going to ordinance for first reading 24-2014. The public hearing, if passed on this, will be December 16, 2014. This is an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 200, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 200-52-1, Handicap Parking Spaces, 576 Forest Street, Apartment Number 1, South Side.
Motion to adopt on first reading.
Motion
Second.
second, motion by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler,
In favor.
and I am in favor as well. The motion carries and the ordinance passes. The public hearing again is December 16, 2014. Council members, I will take a motion to suspend the rules to have a walk-on, which will be proposed 301-2014.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, this is simply to suspend the rules and to walk on 301-2014.
Council President, could you just read the title?
A resolution amending resolution number 106-2014 for the formation of a special investigatory committee. Again, and there were copies for the public, and there are additional copies at the end of this table as well. Any further on the motion? Seeing none, this is a vote to suspend the rules and add to the agenda. Councilman Coley,
In favor?
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler,
In favor.
and I am in favor as well. This is added to the consent agenda. That's 301-2014. We are moving into the consent agenda. I will read the statement for the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Council members?
Yes. Council President,
Yes.
can you please remove 296-2014?
296, council members? If not, I am moving forward with the consent agenda. We're voting on the consent, council members, I am I'm sorry, before I start, I am recommending that we withdraw 295-2014 because of the lack of information, and the administration resubmits it at the next council meeting. Or is there any discussion? If not, 295-2014 along, and what I have asked through Director Mays of the administration, what is put on the agenda, he has taken note of Councilwoman Butler's question, and a memo would be attached with 295-2014. So for which 295-2014 is being pulled, and 296 withdrawn. We will postpone 295-2014 until the next meeting, so that it maintains its number 295 for the next meeting, and 296 will be for a separate vote. Voting on the consent agenda: 293-2014, 294-2014, 297-2014, 298-2014, 299-2014, 300-2014, and 301-2014.
Move.
Moved by
Second.
Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda does go forward. In the audience, I will just ask Ms. Tracy, I already missed her last name, to stand, and congratulations on your appointment to the Board of Commissioners for the Orange Housing Authority. She is a very inviting person, so if you have any questions, or, let her get on there and get her, but she will take your concerns and take it to, and she's a people of the person, so Ms. Tracy, we look forward to your serving, and Councilman Coley and Councilman Johnson will become your best friends. Okay. Going back to, thank you. Going back to 296-2014, a resolution approving the bill list for the council meeting vote on November 17, 2014, dated November 14, 2014, approving checks issued by the Finance Department in accordance with 2-95. Thank you, Councilwoman Butler. There was a note that we had to remove $600 from the bill list. Let me just get there. 296. Can we go back to
hot dogs and
wait, Council? Can we
Yeah,
get
for the
what
hot
page is
dog.
it?
That's page 8.
Page 8.
Hot dog.
Veterans Day.
You said for the what? Hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs we didn't have.
So again, on page 8, the amount for $600 for the Veteran Day event that did not go forward will be removed. Is there any further discussion? Are there any? Let's see. Before we go in there, is there a motion on Resolution 296-2014? Is there a motion?
Move.
Moved by Council.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. On the motion that $600 is being removed, is there any further discussion before we present the new amended amount? No? The new amended amount, Ms. O'Meara, $5.785,616.90, and that's with the $600 removal. We will, voting on 296-2014, and council members, please wait 1 second, because we have to calendar an issue. 296-2014, Councilman Coley? Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton? Yes. Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman, what did I say? Did I say councilman or councilwoman?
You say councilman.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Butler?
no.
And Councilwoman, I'm in favor as well. The motion does carry with the amended amount. Council members, in light of the investigation committee and the amendment, we would like to book a date for the first hearings. And we're looking at the first week of December first. The first week of December. And so we can do it.
We already have 2 meetings set up for the first week in December. December 4th and our regular council
December
meeting.
1st, the first week of December, or December 25th. No, just kidding. So what I'm saying is, and this is our first investigation on this matter, so we'll probably be highlighting, asking questions. It may be long, it may not. We are committed for December 2nd and December 4th.
Council President, just a note, the tree lighting is on December 2nd from 5 to 7. And then we have a meeting at 7 o'clock. Are you aware of that?
Now we know. Thank you, Councilwoman Easton. So, but I wasn't looking at December 2nd or 4th. So I said we're already.
The tree lighting is that day.
Okay.
And one of the other recommendations about the meeting on the 4th.
Wait, Councilwoman, let's stay on one thing. Can we do it on the 1st, 3rd, or 5th? Can everybody look at their calendar?
Well, I can do it on the 3rd.
Can everybody do it on the 1st, 3rd, or 5th? We have a 3rd.
I can't do it on the 1st. I can do it on the
1st or the 3rd. Councilman Coley.
3rd.
You, Councilman Coley? Councilwoman Summers Johnson. And I will say what I failed to state is that this is also the week after Thanksgiving. I'm going to recommend the 3rd, and we will just have 3 meetings, the 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th. That is, and I don't know if anybody's traveling, so you will be getting back and didn't have to be here for a meeting. We can do it 5, 6, or 7 o'clock. Or I don't think we could do it during the day because of people's early work. So 5, 6, or 7. So when I say your name, say December 3rd or an alternate date and what time you can be here. Councilman Coley?
December 3rd is not a good date for me. My daughter's having surgery that day.
What's the alternate date? December 1st?
I guess any date.
You can't do any 1st, 3rd, or 5th. If none of those weeks, we'll go into the next week. That week is not a good week for you?
The first has to be the first.
Oh, so if you can do the 1st, what time can you be here? 5, 6, 7?
7.
7 p.m. Councilman Corbett?
Another date, another week.
We're going to go to the next week with you. Councilwoman Eason?
The 3rd.
5,
6 or 7.
6 or after. Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
1st or 3rd is okay with me.
Time? 5, 6, or 7? 6.
Any of those times.
6, okay. So I got 2/3. Councilman Johnson?
The 1st at 7.
12/1 at 7 p.m. Councilwoman Vaughn Butler?
The 1st.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3. I could be here to 4. Councilwoman Easton, if we started at 7 on the 1st, does that help you get here?
Hold on, let me check. I'm checking now.
That's a Monday. Well, we start at 6:30. You will arrive by 7:15.
If we start at 7, I can be here.
So,
On the 1st.
so we're going to book right now December 1st at 7 p.m. Attorney Smith, can you note that for the administration? If you have a conflict, can you deal directly with Mr. Tarver? If not, it will go forward. Okay? All right. And, you can keep me in the loop, but in terms of the scheduling, because of the nature of the investigation, you're not here, we can't investigate, you know what I'm saying? So, but how to process, so please just I don't want to wait till the last week and nobody, so I will, with December 1st at 7 p.m., okay? All right. And Councilman Corbett, it's the first of probably several. If anything changes or.
I didn't say I wouldn't be here. I just said I
Be
prefer
here.
another
Okay.
week. Now she can't
Oh,
speak for
I'm
me.
go-
I
stop,
have
stop,
to make
stop.
that decision.
We're doing good. Look, Council, we 2
You
minutes
better
before
think again.
Councilman
I make a
Corbett, we
motion.
2 minutes. Wait, Councilwoman Easton, regarding the meeting on December 4th, really quick.
I was gonna say, I thought part of the prerequisite to that meeting that the mayor was gonna meet with the superintendent, they would have come together, so on December the 4th, we can move forward with something.
December 4th is a meeting of all minds here, an executive session. Everybody's coming here December 4th. I don't know that they're not.
That's the understanding.
Yeah.
I don't know who's setting it up, but somebody needs to check.
Well,
Because I don't want to come out here and we had the same thing we did at the last meeting, which I thought was a waste of time, but.
When we said that on December 4th, there would be an executive session with the mayor, the board, the Orange Board of Education, and the trustee of the YWCA.
Motion to extend.
Motion to, we're right there, just,
Somebody needs to follow up. That's all
okay,
I'm
and I've
saying.
been following up, Councilwoman Easton, but so far we're on par for December 4th.
No.
And also the lunch, Thanksgiving is 12 to 4 at St. Matthew's.
Thank you, Councilwoman Easton. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
That was a unanimous on my left side. Motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. Is there a second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we adjourned at 10:30. 30 seconds.